Chapter 66. At the same time on the field, many screens were flashing, taking care of all directions. Thousands of students gathered on the field were watching this novel team competition. Some were watching silently, some were deep in thought, and some were whispering to each other. Under normal circumstances, this kind of team duel game would have professional commentary. However, this time, Cultivator's Canyon was a trial version and had not been made public. Therefore, there was no relatively professional commentary. All the commentary matters were handled by the female teacher on behalf of the host. It was the early phase of the game, so there was basically no chance of a team battle breaking out. The female host looked at the screen in boredom. There are too many things in this shop. It's too much for my eyes to take in. The camera was moving so I couldn't see it clearly. Even Senior Tang Jingza and the others have to look at it for so long. I don't think I'll be able to get out of this base in less than an hour. The starting coins are too little. I don't know where to start. Below the stage, the students discussed spiritedly. Even the old secretary on the rostrum frowned slightly. This dazzling array of Dharma treasures is indeed a headache. For students who have difficulty choosing, I'm afraid they will waste a lot of time in this store. This time, the system used in the brand new 5v5 competition is only a trial version. In the future, in the regular version, the magic treasures in the store will probably be reduced by 60 to 70%. But that's good too. There are more things in this shop. He had to choose a suitable magic treasure in a short period of time and use it flexibly. And to achieve this, it will be a great test of one's ability to adapt. By the way, does this game have any sort of system reward mechanism? Oh, there are rewards. The party would be rewarded with 500 game coins for destroying the first defense tower. The first person to kill an opponent would be rewarded with 500 game coins. If someone assists, the prize money will be split equally. Also, the first person to synthesize a large piece of equipment, also known as the first equipment reward, will be rewarded with 500 game coins. If we can take the lead in these three reward mechanisms, the team's advantage will increase by a lot. Before he could finish speaking, the crisp sound of the system's electronic voice sounded on the screen. First gear. Then, Wang Ling's name was shockingly listed in the system announcement. Wang Ling had fused the first piece of equipment and was awarded 500 game coins. The female host directly exclaimed, "Student Wang Ling from number 60 high school is the first to synthesize a large piece of equipment. Get a reward of 500 yuan. Everyone was shocked and their faces paled. When the caster switched the screen to the shop's inventory, there was an endless stream of curses. Holy shit. Why the hell was there a piece of equipment that cost $1? Holy shit. A person who hadn't even left the base had actually obtained the first piece reward? There must be a bug somewhere. F***CK. At the same time, Tang Jingza and the other four on the red side shouted in unison after seeing the system announcement. The cheapest big piece of equipment in their team was Liang Fei's ascending dragon sword. As long as they killed 2 more groups of minions, they would be able to gather enough money for the first equipment reward. Who knew that this reward would be given to someone who hadn't even left the base? He had to appeal. Protest. A rematch. Is there a problem with the system? Should we pause the match to verify it? Headmaster Jean asked. It's not the system. It's just that classmate Wang Ling's spirit sword is very cheap to begin with. On the side, the teacher leading the team, Old Antique, couldn't help sighing. Classmate Wang Ling comes from a poor family, and the spirit sword he brought to the competition this time is a peachwood sword. The corner of Headmaster Jin's mouth couldn't help twitching. So this is your strategy? I don't know about that. Maybe classmate Wang Ling has his own considerations. Old Antique shook his head. As he said this, the caster switched the screen to the inventory, and the image froze on Wang Ling's small wooden sword. Everyone was aghast when they saw the price of this wooden sword, a peachwood sword priced at 1 game coin. Was this a F***king big piece of equipment? It would be strange if he didn't get the first piece of equipment reward. Wang Ling hadn't expected Jinka to be priced at 1 game coin to actually be considered a big piece of equipment. He had originally bought it out of curiosity, but in the end, He had accidentally obtained the first piece of equipment as a reward. Now Wang Ling felt that thousands of eyes in the stadium were looking at him in unison, which he wasn't used to. It was really too eye-catching. In order to divert everyone's attention from him, Wang Ling felt that it was necessary to go easy on the others and make an issue out of them to ensure that they developed well and gave them enough room to show off. To divert the audience's attention from him. This was the right way to be a support player. So at this moment, Wang Ling decided not to make another stab. Now that he had an extra 500 game coins as a reward, he would just obediently produce a piece of salary equipment, freeload off some experience, and steadily develop. There were a lot of salary equipment in the shop. Even though Wang Ling had 999 game coins in his hand, he chose the cheapest one in order to not attract attention. Name: black rimmed glasses of unknown origin. Type: functional magic weapon. Quality: normal, gold coins 300. Description: time is money, and money is time. A mysterious pair of black rimmed glasses, made by the Mystic Magic family. Wear them and stare at someone. Plus 2 game coins /1s. After putting on the black rimmed glasses and going out, Wang Ling was stunned to find that Hirogua was actually already at level 3. He had wasted too much time at the base. Wang Ling sighed in his heart. He didn't think he was a long-winded person, but when it came to games, he had far fewer opportunities than normal boys. That was because he was always worried that he wouldn't be able to control his power and break the machine. So he definitely wasn't as good at games as these two damn fat shut-ins, Super Chun and Hirogua. But now that he had a new version of the talisman, at least for the next 3 months, Wang Ling's apprehensions could be largely dispelled. During these 3 months, Wang Ling didn't have to worry about breaking spoons and chopsticks, nor did he have to worry about his aura leaking out and damaging any public facilities. During this period of stability, Wang Ling could be like any other normal kid his age, stay at home on the weekends and play games, or go out to work to earn some extra money. After these 3 months, as the power of the talisman seal weakened bit by bit, the days of fear would return. Because the material used to synthesize the talisman was very special, it would take a very long time for Wang Ling to refine it on his own. Normally, Wang Ling could forcibly speed up the flow of time, but he just couldn't help much in this regard. Because as soon as he got close to the material, he couldn't exert any strength at all, not to mention the use of spells. While Wang Ling was pondering this, Lotus Sun's voice came from the mid lane. "Student Wang Ling, be careful. The enemy mid lane has gone to catch them." The voices of the red and blue teams were interconnected, and voice messages could be transmitted from very far away. The bottom lane in Cultivator's Ravine was a relatively open area with a lot of reed marshes, which was very good for ambushing people. Wearing his small black-rimmed glasses, Wang Ling hid in the reed marshes near his defense tower and secretly observed the situation. In a short period of time, he had already earned back the money he had spent on the black-rimmed glasses. "Student Wang Ling, don't be greedy. Come back quickly. Our bottom lane is dirty. We can't beat the 3 of them." Master of Dopey noticed that the opponent's bottom lane combination had already disappeared, and it was very likely that they would cooperate with the missing mid lane to catch them. But could they really not beat them? Chapter 67. The system digitized everyone's strength and divided them into 20 levels. Each increase in level unlocked 5% of their strength. But Wang Ling realized that this kind of digitization didn't seem to have any effect on him, because he wasn't a foundation establishment cultivator to begin with. Up until now, he had been faking his realm at school. Foundation establishment high schools were filled with students at the foundation establishment stage, and the system settings for this trial version of Cultivator's Canyon naturally restricted the digitization to those at the foundation establishment stage. In other words, Wang Ling hadn't truly digitized himself like everyone else. His level had also been divided into 20 levels, and he also needed to absorb experience to level up. But this kind of leveling up was meaningless to Wang Ling. So even though he was only at level 1 now, he was now a godlike existence in this map. Forget 3 people, even if it was an entire division of troops, Wang Ling felt that he could kill them with one slash of his sword. But as a qualified support, Wang Ling couldn't do it himself. The economy and kills of the bottom lane had to be given to the carry. Turning his head to look at Hirogwa, who was already shivering under the tower, Wang Ling walked out of the reed marsh. Now, Wang Ling decided to take shelter in his body and go out to lure a wave of people. Leaving the opportunity to the others was probably the least eye-catching method Wang Ling could think of. Even if he couldn't kill anyone, he could at least swindle some skills. Tang Jingze, Liang Zheng and Liang Fei were lying in wait in the reed marsh on the red side. In the virtual game space, everyone had turned into a mass of data, and their auras and spiritual senses had been sealed off by the system. Thus, they didn't have to worry at all that their auras would be detected by the opponent. Look, that pretty boy has come out. This guy is only level 1. Where did he get the guts from? Look at his shabby appearance, he definitely doesn't play games much. I bet it's a trap. So are we going or not? They squatted in the grass and discussed this, and finally fixed their gazes on Tang Jingze's face. Senior, say something. To be honest, Tang Jingze had refused at first. After all, after these 2 days of contact with Wang Ling, he had already reflected deeply on how toxic this pretty boy with the buzz cut was. Go. Or not go, that was the problem. In this type of MOBA game, it was quite common to rely on capturing people to achieve a numerical advantage. Right now they had the advantage in terms of numbers and levels. In Tang Jingze's eyes, Wang Ling, who was only at level 1, was like a piece of juicy pork doused in soy sauce and caviar. He could smell the aroma of meat from far away. Finally, Tang Jingze gritted his teeth. Go. With so many people, what was there to be afraid of? On the other side, Hirogwa was still holed up under the tower. From a distance, he could hear rustling sounds coming from the reeds up ahead. Then he saw 3 people, each carrying a white sword, slashing at Wang Ling. Classmate Wang Ling, be careful. Before the spirit swords were officially combined, the effects of the swordsmanship would be minimal, and it would also be a waste of blue bars. After being digitized, the blue bar represented spiritual power. So after careful consideration, the 3 people who jumped out chose to attack normally, and planned to rely on their numbers to hack Wang Ling to death. Pegasus Meteor Sword. Hugging a sister to kill. Starburst Abandon Healing Slash. Although this wasn't a swordsmanship, a normal attack still had a name, and it had to be shouted out loud for it to look imposing. After all, roaring was the way to deal damage. This was an eternal truth. 3 heavens slashed at Wang Ling with a white sword in hand, as mighty and majestic as a man on a horse. Wang Ling just stood there, not moving at all. He knew very well what would happen if these 3 people hit him. Although this was only a game, the backlash from his sage body was still there. If these 3 people slashed at him, wouldn't there be nothing left of him from the backlash? This wasn't what Wang Ling wanted to see. Taking down 3 kills was really too eye-catching. So now was the time to test his body movement skills. Wang Ling had learned many of his skills without a teacher, and he had rarely had the chance to use skills that were so lethal since he was young. Only body movement skills were something that Wang Ling could practice when he had nothing to do. In the cultivation world, most body movement skills were about being prepared for a rainy day, predicting an attack's trajectory, and then dodging it. But Wang Ling couldn't do this, because this kind of body movement was too advanced and would attract attention. Thus, after a long period of practice, Wang Ling had figured out a body movement that suited him the best. So in the end, Wang Ling's conclusion was, the most flamboyant movement was no movement, and the most heaven-defying body movement was no body movement. Looks like the capture was very successful this time. First blood is about to be born in the bottom lane, Headmaster Jean said solemnly. The female host exclaimed. Now number 59 high school's Tang Jingze, Liang Zheng and Liang Fei are the first to attack student Wang Ling, who has misunderstood the power of abdominal muscles. What's the result? Everyone held their breaths as they watched Tang Jingze, and the other 2 raised their white swords and swiftly slash at Wang Ling like a clap of thunder. The wind blew up Wang Ling's short hair. This should have been a sure hit attack. However, a scene that no one could have imagined happened. In the face of the 3's pincer attack, Wang Ling, who had been standing still on the spot, suddenly swayed slightly. The average distance between the three swords and Wang Ling was only 0.01 centimeters. But after a quarter of an incense stick of time, Wang Ling turned sideways, and the swords actually slashed at empty air. What the hell? What kind of body movement is this? The female host, Headmaster Jean, and his friends were all stupefied. Our number 60 high school's body movement lesson hasn't started yet. For student Wang Ling to be able to dodge, maybe he's just lucky. This kid must have learned a body movement skill on his own. Dodging 3 swords with a sidestep. Who are you trying to fool? Headmaster Jean, don't get excited. The old secretary is also sitting here. Why don't we let him have his opinion? On the rostrum, all the leaders watched the replay from the director's perspective. Staring at the replay, the old secretary shook his head slightly after a moment. I didn't see any body movement skill this student used. It was just an ordinary sidestep. Even this old secretary said so. Headmaster Jean was instantly speechless. The old secretary's strength was unfathomable, and there was no need to doubt his authority. Looking at the economic disparity in the audience, the female host couldn't help sighing. This time, the students from number 59 high school failed to capture the enemy, and also lost money on the army line. So the students from number 60 high school are directly ahead by 2,000. I hope the students from number 59 high school won't be discouraged, and keep up the good work. Hearing the female host's words, Headmaster Chen smiled triumphantly. So for this kind of team game, my advice is not to think about making a big splash in the early stages. Steady development is the way to go. Chen Tianxiang, don't be so smug, I'll definitely overtake them. Headmaster Jean puffed up his cheeks and glared at Headmaster Chen as he spoke telepathically. On the rostrum, the leaders discussed animatedly. Only Audiobook stared at the screen in silence, because he was the only one who knew how unfathomable this youngster was. 6 years ago, he had killed a demon king in one blow. Such terrifying strength. Even the old secretary might not have been able to do it. But Audiobook hadn't expected that after searching for Wang Ling for so long, the other party would still seem to have sensed him and use all sorts of methods to avoid him. And when they finally met again after 6 years, it was actually at this spirit sword exchange meet. Looking at Wang Ling's youthful face, which had matured a little, and at the same time looking back at that childish little face from 6 years ago. Chapter 68. The most heaven-defying body movement was to have no body movement at all. In this world, there was no attack that Wang Ling couldn't dodge with a sidestep. If there was, then he just had to do it again. Wang Ling felt that all his hard work in cultivating all these years hadn't been in vain. Even the old secretary couldn't tell what kind of body movement this was, which showed that his 100% sidestep body movement was already very stable. Of course, Wang Ling didn't think this was a big deal. He had just combined the most powerful body movement with his own ideas, and simplified it to the greatest extent possible. Those devilish steps, those wild and evil phantoms, the speed of 90,000 li. After simplifying all these coquettish things, the real body movement technique was actually just a simple sidestep. Wang Ling's own style was to begin with. Compared with those gaudy and bewitching body movements on the market, Wang Ling felt that most body movement techniques had been demonized. Furthermore, the more complicated they looked, the more expensive they were. What left and right horizontal jump? What 3,000 thunderclaps? What snakeskin phantom? These body movements were just exquisitely packaged accessories based on his sidestep. They were so complicated that they were like Superman's underwear. They didn't have the effect of making him bigger. They looked good but were useless. Classmate Wang Ling, you're so cool. Damn, you actually dodged a pincer attack from 3 people with a sidestep. How did you do it? Master of Dopey was stunned by Wang Ling's actions. Overwhelmed by shock, it seemed that his ability to think had already broken through the limits of a human. For the first time, Master of Dopey felt that his IQ wasn't enough. He didn't even understand how Wang Ling had dodged the pincer attack at all. He just felt that Wang Ling's sidestep had been very ingenious. It was as if the angle of his sidestep had been a condensation of the right time, right place, right people plus luck and coincidence. It was so perfect that it was indescribable. Of course, Wang Ling wouldn't admit that this sidestep was actually a body movement. But after calming down and thinking about it, Wang Ling felt that even if he said it out loud, no one would believe him. So, Wang Ling habitually attributed it all to luck. And the scariest thing was that his friends at number 60 high could actually accept this answer. Because Wang Ling's presence was usually very low, most people's impression of him was that his grades were average, his family was poor. And the most important thing was that he was especially lucky. At the start of the semester, Wang Ling had gotten an SSS grade with just one murderous look. If it hadn't been for a bug in the system at that time, how could he have gotten this grade so easily? Thus, his friends in the upper and middle fields sent congratulatory messages. Feather Lin. Classmate Wang Ling is so beautiful. This wave is very strong. Super Chun. Double-click 666. There's nothing wrong with old iron. Lotus Sun. Hee. As expected of our number 60 high school's mascot, Wang Ling. In the 22nd minute of the match, the economic gap in the field had widened to nearly 3,000. Number 59 high school was still at a disadvantage, and the situation was still snowballing. The main reason was that Tang Jing's group had been completely bewildered by the failure of the previous 3 grabs. Until now, they still hadn't found a good opportunity to turn things around. Brother Tang, we can't go on like this. Should we look for another opportunity to grab them? The bottom lane duo, which Liang Zheng and Liang Fei were in charge of, began to talk telepathically. After the last round of disadvantage, those 2 guys on the other side have been pressing us to grind down the tower. Now the tower's HP has dropped to half. If we keep grinding, we'll lose all our skin. Tang Jingza looked at his equipment bar. Since the failure of the previous 3 grabs, he had been at a disadvantage. On the other side, Lotus Sun had already made a 3rd white sword in her equipment bar, and was about to make a 4th to synthesize a big treasure sword. And he had only just made his 2nd sword. This woman was really too strong. Tang Jingza was at a huge financial disadvantage. If he continued to be suppressed like this, he felt that by the time Lotus Sun synthesized the mysterious sea sword, it would be too late. A mysterious sea sword worth 5,800 yuan. After being digitized, its attack power was more than 900, and it also had a 200% critical strike effect. It could pierce through a defense tower with just a few slashes. You haven't used your teleport yet, right? Tang Jingza said. Teleport. Bottom lane spike. Let's do it together. Tang Jingza wasn't one to believe in superstitions. If he gave it his all, a bicycle would turn into a motorcycle. You have to get up from where you have fallen. Let's do it. After the people from number 59 high school discussed it, an earth-shattering scene occurred. 2 red pillars of light rose from the 2 reeds on the bottom lane. The female host shouted excitedly, "The students from number 59 high school have now decided to teleport and flank the bottom lane. They're going to attack the bottom lane again." They were facing the expectant gazes of all the students from number 59 high school. After their previous failure, as the team captain, Tang Jingza was well aware of how important this team battle was for the team. Can he still face danger with a smile? Wang Ling was startled by the sudden rise of the 2 teleport pillars of light. Be careful, they're coming again. Lotus Sun warned. Hold on, we're on our way. Super Chen said. You didn't bring teleport, how are you going to hurry? Master of Dopey was about to cry. In order to maintain their advantage in the lane earlier, Lotus Sun and Super Chun hadn't brought teleport, and had both chosen to use the ignite skill. Feather Lin, on the other hand, had brought flash. Looking at the 2 healers in his and Wang Ling's hands, Hirogua's cheeks streamed with tears. With their skill configuration, they completely lacked the ability to provide support. The teleport channeling bar was very short, and Tang Jingza, Fang Huaqing, and the Liang family's 3rd young master appeared in the bottom lane almost instantly. They planned to cross the tower and attack Wang Ling and Hirogua. Brothers, let's talk this over. Can't you hold back? Given the current situation, Hirogua could only think of a way to stall for time. Sorry, brother. Our principle is that if we can fight, we try not to talk. Tang Jingza wouldn't give this chance. He pointed his white sword at Wang Ling, already unable to hold back his thirst. Kill this pretty boy first, then kill the birdman inside. Wang Ling. Hirogwa also understood what he meant and felt insulted. F***K. Just because he had a parrot, he gave himself the nickname Birdman? Saying that, the five of them stood up, their white swords shining brightly in their hands as they prepared to vent the anger in their chests. They stepped forward and hacked fiercely, intending to boost number 59 high school's morale. Now that everyone was digitalized, they didn't have to worry at all about hacking someone to death. Even if they were cut, they wouldn't feel any pain. At most, they would lose an HP bar, and after their HP bar was empty, they could continue the resurrection countdown at the base. Tang Jingze had been stifled badly these past few days. Now that he had finally found an opportunity in the game, he naturally wouldn't let Wang Ling off so easily. They could lose the team battle, but Wang Ling had to die. Feeling this resentment, Wang Ling couldn't help sighing in his heart. Why did they have to target him? He was just an innocent support. Faced with the five people's attacks, Hirogwa didn't have Wang Ling's indifferent mental fortitude, and in his shock, he opened his mouth and screamed wildly. F***K. Support brothers and sisters. Where's the support? Help. His hysterical cries for help made Tang Jingze feel much better. This was an experience that could only be experienced in the game. In reality, it was illegal to raise a knife to kill someone. But even so, the five people's killing intent didn't diminish in the slightest. The purpose of this teleportation was to take their heads. Whether it was Hirogwa or Wang Ling, both of them were destined to die. Just as the five of them jumped into the turret's attack range, and were about to leap over it to attack, three people suddenly emerged from the reeds behind them. Chapter 69. Tang Jingze knew that none of the people from number 60 high school could teleport. At a normal speed, it would take them at least 2 minutes to assemble at the bottom lane from the top lane to the top lane. The speed at which they were traveling was a little too fast. Looking at the three people who had suddenly jumped out of the underbrush, the leaders on the rostrum were also baffled. This speed of support was really too terrifying. Why are they all here? Standing on the edge of the defense tower's attack range, Fang Huaqing trembled as he raised his white sword. They bought shoes. Shoes? No matter how fast they move, it can't be this ridiculous, right? Tang Jingze swiftly opened the equipment bar, and the scene in front of him almost made him kneel down. Name: Reporter's Boots. Type: Functional Magic Treasure. Quality: Excellent. Gold coins: 600. Description: These are running shoes personally made by the Emo Mage family, and specially designed to commemorate our reporter comrades. Wearing these shoes will allow you to break through human limits and rush to your teammates in need of support. With these shoes, we would like to express our blessings to the reporters who have been rushing around the world all these years, always wanting to create big news. Everyone couldn't help falling into deep thought as they watched the director change the image. The breeze in Cultivator's Canyon blew over the reeds, sending a chill down their spines. Lotus Sun, Super Chun and Feather Lin had already emerged from behind the tower, intending to flank them from the front and back. Tang Jingze simply wanted to break the white sword in his hand. What the F***K were they going to do? Seeing that the situation had changed, a certain little fatty, who had been holed up under the tower, unhurriedly walked out and greeted Tang Jingze. Yo, big brother. We meet again. I really didn't expect this feng shui. It's like a big windmill spinning. Master of Dopey stuck out his belly and jumped out from under the tower. Hit me, Tang Jingze. You can't do it. Saying this, Master of Dopey jumped back under the tower. Then he jumped out again. Curse me. Tang Jingze gritted his teeth. You can't open your mouth. Everyone at number 60 high was already used to it. In any case, it wasn't the first or second time this guy had a bad mouth. But when he did, there was nothing you could do about it, which was the most infuriating. Brothers, let's talk this over. Can't we just hold back? Tang Jingze was well aware that if they were annihilated in this place, their chances of victory would be very slim. I'm sorry, brother. Our principle is that if we can fight, we won't talk. Hirogwa repeated Tang Jingze's words to Tang Jingze and the others, And then Superchin shouted, "Go!" Very cooperatively, he pushed the 5 people from number 59 high school into the defense tower's attack range one by one. Tang Jingza rubbed his butt, his face trembling. F***ck. This annoying birdman was indeed from the Scorpio constellation, bearing a grudge. And then, there was no then. Given the disparity in equipment and the defense tower's attack, the people from number 59 high school simply didn't have the strength to resist. First kill. Double kill. Triple kill. Quadruple kill. 5 kills. In an instant, there was the crisp sound of a system notification, and a huge team annihilation hung high in the center of the big screen. The female host screamed excitedly. Team annihilation. Classmate Superchen's kick worked. Classmate Hirogwa and classmate Wang Ling's seduction was very successful. Classmate Lotus Sun got a pentakill. Pentakill. At that moment, classmate Lotus Sun raised her sword high, as if she was possessed by a soul. At that moment, she represented number 60 high school's fine tradition. She wasn't fighting alone. She wasn't alone. Number 59 high school's students collectively covered their faces. F***K. Home ground battle. This was too embarrassing. Director Xie sighed. They've already done very well, but it's very obvious that the students from number 60 high school are much more flexible with their magic treasures. This shows that they're very adaptable. And most importantly, I didn't expect this group of kids to know how to use an advanced team tactic like one-wave attack. Headmaster Chen. I didn't expect Director Xie to have studied team tactics. This comes from Team Tactician God Ye's Guide to Glory. I'm just applying what I learned. Director Xie smiled shyly and looked tenderly at Old Antique. Teacher Wang is the expert in this area. Old Antique smiled bashfully. Honey, you flatter me. I'm just a dabbler. Headmaster Chun, Headmaster Jean and Director Sure. That's enough with you shameless couple. 38 minutes into the match, the economic gap in the field had already reached nearly 10,000. Everyone from number 60 high school had 4 or 5 pieces of equipment, and they were just a little short of combining their big magic swords into spirit swords. In the end, in consideration of the impact of the 2 schools, Lotus Sun, Hero Gua and Super Chun, had all run out to deliver a wave of friendly kills, so that number 59 high school wouldn't lose so badly. But even so, the gap in headcount was still insurmountable 12-3. The outcome of this match was already very clear. On the rostrum, Headmaster Jin's expression was very solemn. This was a showdown between the elites of the 2 schools. In this kind of team battle, given the economic gap, there was no way for number 60 high school to turn the tables unless a miracle happened. Headmaster Jean heaved a long sigh. "AI, we lost." Headmaster Chun and Headmaster Jean had the same relationship as Director Sure and Director Xie. They had been enemies for many years. It could be said that Zhuo was well aware of the ins and outs of these 2 fellow disciples, who had graduated from 7 Stars sect back then. Seeing Headmaster Jean sigh, Headmaster Chun, as the senior brother, also felt a little complicated. He couldn't tell whether he was happy or sad, but he immediately comforted him telepathically. "Junior brother, it's okay, the most important thing is to participate. Friendship first, competition second. Senior brother, remember when we had a duel with swords on Mount Malin and Wuching Peak back then? And I lost. This time, it was a duel between us students. I never thought I'd lose to you again. AI, in the end, fate makes fools of people. It's just a game. There are always unpredictable variables in a team battle. This bunch of kids from number 59 high school didn't give up until the very last moment. Their unyielding spirit is a little like yours. The students from number 60 high school aren't bad either. They're very adaptable and resilient. The cunning and shrewdness in their bones. They're just like senior brother. Haha, junior brother, you flatter me. Senior brother, let's discuss something? Go ahead. How many more heads do you want your students to give up? Stop dreaming, junior brother. Do you want our spirit sword education to fail like the national football team? Then senior brother, I have another question. Go ahead. Why? Why isn't spirit swords used in the spirit sword exchange meet? Chapter 70. This time, Chen Tianxiang and Jean Mayan, these two funny brothers, had come to the conclusion that the Cultivator's Canyon trial would be the trial point of the reform of the Spirit Sword Exchange meet. Before this, the rest of the teachers were all kept in the dark, and it was only 2 hours before the start of the Spirit Sword Exchange meet that they received the notice. Neither of the two headmasters had expected that the reformed trial version of the Spirit Sword trial would be so successful. All kinds of small magic treasures with different functions emerged one after another, greatly increasing the interest of the Spirit Sword Exchange meet. All the students stared intently at the screen, and none of them dozed off. In the past, the audience would often hold their heads in their hands and ponder over life halfway through. That being said, there were still unexpected things. After all, this time's Spirit Sword trial was only a trial version, and many of the checks and balances in the duel were lacking. Once one side gained the upper hand, the other side would not be able to resist at all. Then there would be a situation. It was very likely that before many people could actually synthesize spirit swords, they would be able to end the competition just by using blank swords and big treasured swords. What kind of freaking Spirit Sword Exchange meet didn't use spirit swords? Realizing this, the two clown brothers suddenly realized the awkwardness and seriousness of this question. All the students had brought their spirit swords with them, so how could they not be given a chance to show off? But now the competition was over. After Wang Ling and his friends came out of the virtual space, they heard the two headmasters on the rostrum communicating telepathically. "Senior brother, hurry up and think of a way." Headmaster Jean covered his face. "The Spirit Sword Exchange meet doesn't use spirit swords. If word of this gets out, I won't want to live anymore." "Junior brother, calm down." Chen Tianxiang knew that once this junior brother of his was in an extremely tense state, the young girl's heart sealed in his body would overflow uncontrollably. For the sake of the reputation of the Seven Stars sect, and the eyes of the teachers and students of the two schools, Chen Tianxiang's brain cells were working at a high speed. After a while, Headmaster Chen said in a low voice, "Deputy Director Zhua still has a spirit sword performance segment. How about we let Deputy Director Zhua choose a student spirit sword to demonstrate the 100 steps flying sword?" Headmaster Jin's expression instantly returned to normal. "Senior brother is wise, Headmaster Chen." The corners of Wang Ling's mouth couldn't help twitching. On the rostrum, Audiobook stared at the 10 spirit swords on the table and broke out in a cold sweat. To be honest, this ending was much better than Audiobook had imagined. He really didn't know how to use the sky-parting sword, but he could still accept the 100 steps flying sword. Whether or not Audiobook could successfully complete the performance now depended entirely on his compatibility with the 10 spirit swords. One had to know that these spirit swords all had masters. Completely obeying a stranger's words was a huge test of Audiobook's sword-riding ability, as well as a certain level of courage. As the deputy director of the general administration of 100 schools, he would lose a lot of face if he made a mistake at this stage. "I didn't expect the rules to be changed this time. I wanted to use this opportunity to show off Wang Ming and Wang Ji." Below the stage, Feather Lin sighed. "Looks like Little Feather's sword control technique has improved a lot." Lotus Sun smiled. "Of course. Ever since Teacher Wang showed me the founder of diabolism, I felt like I was in a dream and understood the true meaning of the mother-child sword." "What true essence?" Hirogwa raised his eyebrows. "The combination of the two bastards is invincible. I wonder, whose spirit sword will Senior Zhua choose?" Audiobook's gaze moved back and forth between the 10 spirit swords. Lotus Sun's mysterious sea sword had already given birth to a sword spirit. It would be impossible for him to control it in the short term. He didn't even want to touch Feather Lin's mother-child sword. It was already difficult to control an unfamiliar spirit sword to begin with, and this mother-child sword was enough to kill him. The remaining spirit swords were Super Chen's Strength Chow, Hirogwa's Ghost Tooth, Tang Jing's Blue Blood, Fang Huaqing's Jampa, and the Liang family's Climbing Dragon Sword series. Wang Ling's gaze followed Audiobook's. Given the 1 in 10 chance, it shouldn't be Jinka, right? Then, he picked up the only small wooden sword on the stage. "It's up to you, Wang Ling." Ajwa naturally had his own reasons for choosing Jinka. First, this sword looked the most harmless and non-threatening, and looked very easy to control. Second, the owner of this sword was Wang Ling. Ajwa thought that this was a hint. Holding Jinka in his hand, Ajwa secretly made up his mind to perform well. If he could show off Shifu's spirit sword well, Shifu might be happy. Happy your sister. Also, who the F*** K is your Shifu? Don't force me to be your disciple, hey. Wang Ling rubbed the space between his eyebrows, feeling a headache coming on. Now he just hoped that Jinka could restrain its strength in the hands of a stranger. It absolutely couldn't go berserk. Otherwise, with this sword, everyone here would have to move to another city to live in. Although Wang Ling sounded a little exaggerated, this was indeed an indisputable fact. Jinka was indeed a small wooden sword, but there was no doubt about its lethality. Back when he had entered the gate between worlds to save Old Li, Wang Ling had used Jinka to chop off the head of a demon god. After being irrigated with the blood of the demon god, Jinka had been tempered to an unprecedented level. It was also from then on that Jinka, like Wang Ling, was unable to suppress the primordial power in its body. The saying that a spirit sword was like its master wasn't without reason. Next, let us invite Teacher Ajwa, Deputy Director of the General Administration of 100 Schools, to give everyone a wonderful performance of the 100 Steps Flying Sword. Seeing that Ajwa had chosen the spirit sword, the female host gave a loud shout. Holding Jinka in his hand, Ajwa slowly walked to the center of the sports field amid thunderous applause. On the rostrum, Sun Dakong frowned. Is the owner of this sword that student Wang Ling? Next to him, Headmaster Chen didn't know why the old secretary was suddenly asking, but he still answered. Yes, it's Wang Ling. Student Wang Ling's family is relatively poor, and our school is preparing to organize a home visit and raise funds for assistance. The old secretary nodded in satisfaction. Well done. No matter how poor we are, we can't be poor in education. We should let every student feel the love and concern of the school and society, so that they can grow up healthily. Next to him, the headmasters, directors and lead teachers of the two schools couldn't help nodding. Secretary Sun is right. Comrades, you've all worked hard. Everyone should show more concern for the students in need. As the old secretary spoke, he still couldn't help staring at the peachwood sword in Ajwa's hand. Was it an illusion? Chapter 71. It could only be said that the old secretary was indeed the old secretary. As the most senior, and the most unfathomable senior present, the old secretary still relied on his many years of experience and unfathomable realm to vaguely detect something unusual about this small wooden sword. But Wang Ling didn't have to worry about this old secretary noticing anything. Looking into Ajwa's memories, he had already read the old secretary's background very clearly. This was an old senior from that era, who had once killed a demon god together with several other founding bigwigs of Huaxiao Nation, and was more sensitive to demon god blood than ordinary people. Thus, as soon as Wang Ling had handed Jinka over, he had attached a confusing aura to Jinka, which was like a protective membrane that wrapped it securely up. Wang Ling hadn't chosen to completely conceal the aura of the demon god blood, because that would have been very unnatural. Instead, this sort of half-concealing protection would have given the old secretary an almost misconception. Instead, it would have been better for concealing Jinka's aura. Ever since he had become deputy director of the General Administration of 100 Schools, Ajwa felt that it had been a very long time since he had displayed any skills in public. The outside world had always called his unassuming character modest and low-key. Over time, that sky-parting sword had become a legend. But the truth was that he really didn't King know how to do it. Thus, Ajwa's mood had been very complicated when he had been invited to attend the Spirit Sword Exchange meet between his alma mater, number 60 High School and number 59 High School. He didn't think he was a genius. Even when he had advanced to the Golden Core stage, he had inadvertently fallen into a sinkhole and eaten a spirit fruit by mistake when he had been studying agriculture in his second year of high school. It could be said that Ajwa's life was full of all kinds of lucky coincidences and dramas. For example, that inexplicable demon rampage 6 years ago, or that killer maiden who had been arrested yesterday. Who the hell knew how he had taken credit for all these things? In any case, Ajwa had always felt that ever since he had entered number 60 high school, if he wasn't winning without doing anything, then he was on the road to winning without doing anything. Number 60 high school was a place as magical as Bright Longevity Village. Ajwa stood in the middle of the sports field. At that moment, the whole place was silent, leaving the stage to this old senior, who had already graduated many years ago. It had really been too long since he had displayed any skills. Ajwa's heart raced, and he was a little nervous. Ever since he had started working, Ajwa's chances of coming into contact with spirit swords had plummeted like a drop-off machine in an amusement park. He now knew that he needed to find the right feeling, which was an important part of establishing a rapport with the unfamiliar spirit sword in a short period of time. Theoretically speaking, the 100 Steps flying sword was much simpler than the sky-parting sword. But for high school students who had yet to come into contact with advanced spirit sword courses, this was still a difficult skill that could only be watched by onlookers. Since it was a high-difficulty skill, there was still a possibility of failure. In front of thousands of eyes, Ajwa raised Jinka and did 23 backflips in a row plus 3 Thomas spins, causing everyone's eyes to follow his figure as he wandered back and forth in the air. The blade of Jinka's sword scraped against the air, leaving a long trail of spirit light in its wake, giving the whole scene a different kind of beauty. What an amazing opening! Tang Jingza and the others were stunned. There was thunderous applause all around the sports field, and even old Antique on the rostrum was full of praise. This is the blink swordsmanship passed down by old Demon Han back then. There are a lot of people who know of this swordsmanship, but those who can execute it so smoothly are as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. That's right. Even the old secretary was full of praise. This swordsmanship isn't very powerful, but it's the best of all swordsmanship in terms of ornamental value. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say it's in the top 10. Little Zhuozi has been busy with work all these years, but it looks like he's put in a lot of time to practice. Little Zhuozi. Hearing how the old leader addressed Ajwa, the expressions of the school leaders on the rostrum were as wonderful as when Ajwa had heard it himself. Headmaster Chen and Headmaster Jean couldn't help pondering. For the old secretary to call Ajwa by such an intimate title, this relationship was really worth pondering. Senior Zhua is really amazing. Why is this swordsmanship called blink swordsmanship? Feather Lin had a puzzled expression on her face. Master of Dopey snorted in the manner of an elder. Didn't you notice that you didn't even blink when Senior Zhua showed off his swordsmanship? Blink swordsmanship excels in its elegance. The more perfect it is, the more people can't take their eyes off it. During the Battle of Sherman back then, cultivators who were proficient in swordsmanship on the battlefield used this most basic swordsmanship to confuse the enemy's line of sight and coordinate with the army's attack. I see. When everyone heard this, they all looked like they were suddenly enlightened. After a simple dance with Jinka, Ajwa secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Judging from the loudness of the applause, Ajwa felt that his opening performance could be considered a success. After all, he had been competing in swordsmanship with blink swordsmanship every day since he went to university, and he was even more familiar with it than radio gymnastics and eye exercises. Even though he had been so busy all these years and rarely had time to touch a spirit sword, Ajwa would still occasionally find time to practice it. But the opening performance wasn't much. The performance had just begun. Ajwa took a deep breath. Next up was the 100 Steps flying sword. At that moment, a target had already been set up 200 meters away from the center of the sports field. The target was only the size of a bowl, and for many foundation establishment students, this was already completely out of their field of vision. They could only release their spiritual senses to sense the rough outline of the object. This target is too small, it's a lot more difficult. Director Xie exclaimed on the rostrum. Headmaster Jean smiled slightly. Legend has it that General Yi's 100 Steps flying sword can stab a grain of rice from 1,000 meters away. All the leaders and teachers on the rostrum, including the female host, said the same thing in their hearts in unison. F***K. This is too abnormal. This was a godly technique which a certain swordsman had used to assassinate an ancient tyrant, and had been passed down through the annals of history. General E had perfected the idea and theoretical framework of this swordsmanship based on history. In the end, it turned out that this legendary godly technique wasn't as complicated as imagined. If the 100 Steps flying sword had a difficulty rating of 6 stars, it would barely pass at best. Audiobook had long since memorized the theoretical knowledge of the 100 Steps flying sword during his university days, but after putting it into practice at that time, he remembered that his success rate had only been a little over 60%. This was a swordsmanship that was a huge test of technique, timing, and explosive power. Please don't drop the ball. Audiobook cheered himself on in his heart, then raised his sword fingers and slowly swept them across Jinka's blade, aiming at the bowl that was 200 meters away. Deep blue spirit energy was attached to Jinka's brown-yellow blade. Then, he saw it from a distance. Jinka was trembling violently, like Urkong's uncontrollable hands. Not good. His intuition told him that Jinka was very repulsed by this unfamiliar spirit energy, and was about to go berserk. And there were 2 ways Jinka would go berserk. The first was that Jinka would produce near-destructive power, and the sword waves within a radius of 10,000 li would cause a powerful earthquake. But this could almost be ruled out, because if it really happened, Wang Ling's eyelid warning system would have automatically gone into a ghostly state long ago. Then, if the first possibility was ruled out, there was only the second one left. Wang Ling covered his eyes, having a feeling that something painful was about to happen. Audiobook never expected Jinka to reject his spirit energy so much. Usually, the best way to deal with the spirit sword's rejection was to slash at the air to dissipate the spirit energy attached to the sword. Audiobook had done the same. But this hadn't been able to stop Jinka from going berserk. The moment Audiobook slashed down with his sword, whoosh! On the rostrum, the old secretary, who had been sitting peacefully in his seat, was inexplicably pulled out by a powerful gravitational force, and his pants were directly wrapped around by the blade of the sword and directly ripped to shreds. Then 2 gigantic legs were revealed. Hairy legs, before anyone could react. This inexplicable gravitational fluctuation had already subsided. Then, everyone was horrified to find that the old secretary's 2 legs were firmly wrapped around Audiobook's shoulders. His leg hair, which was as thick as Long John's, danced in the breeze. Wang Ling was speechless at this scene. Chapter 72. This time, Audiobook became famous once again. He became the first man in the world to carry Secretary Dakong's thigh. Everyone who had witnessed this with their own eyes would never be able to forget this historic scene. Not just anyone could carry the old secretary's thigh. Back then, the old secretary had carried a gun and rice on his back, traversing mountains and rivers to ambush a demon god. He was an old senior, who had made countless contributions to the country, and was still famous to this day. He had actually been carried by a junior. For a moment, a lot of people were trying to figure out the meaning behind this. Audiobook's 100 Steps flying sword performance was no longer important, because the moment the old secretary had been sucked away by a gravitational force, the leaders of the 2 schools, as well as the security guards present, had rushed out to protect him. Wang Ling would never forget that scene. Under everyone's gazes and a gentle breeze on the sports field, the old secretary brushed the dust off his body and slowly got to his feet. His long leg hair was a little eye-catching as it fluttered in the wind. He turned his head slightly and said to Audiobook, "Little Josie, come look for me when the event is over." Everyone was stunned. He actually wasn't angry. Everyone knew that the old secretary had another identity. He was the secretary of the Alliance of 10,000 Schools, which was a position of power that belonged to the Alliance of 10,000 Schools. Combined with Audiobook's status as the deputy director of the General Administration of 100 Schools, his recent achievements, and the results of the polls, a lot of people felt that this seemingly nonsensical scene had actually been planned by the old secretary, hinting to everyone that he had found a suitable successor. Now it was very clear that this successor was very likely to be Audiobook. Old secretary, are you hurt? The two headmasters were already scared out of their wits. Who would have thought that such a blunder would occur at the end of the exchange meet? Hurt? How could I be hurt? The old secretary smiled slightly. I didn't expect little Joisie's sword wave to be so powerful. It ripped my pants. But it doesn't matter. I'll just go change into a new pair of pants. It's very normal for spirit energy to go out of control when controlling an unfamiliar spirit sword. Luckily, little Joisie was quick-witted and put the gravitational wave on me. Otherwise, the students would have been in trouble. It turned out that this was Audiobook's emergency response. Everyone was suddenly enlightened. Don't worry, I'm angry. On the contrary, I think you should thank little Joisie properly. The old secretary said. I know that ever since Xiao Joisie started working, he rarely had the chance to come into contact with the spiritual sword. So, my original plan was to just let him perform the sky-parting sword. But in the end, you guys insisted on making him perform the 100 steps flying sword. Look, isn't he losing control of his spiritual power? That's why I was there. If the sword wave hit me, it wouldn't affect me, but if it harmed the students, it wouldn't be good. Through this incident, you have to learn a lesson. Sometimes don't force others to do things against their will, understand? Old secretary is right. We will definitely learn our lesson and reflect on it. Luckily, little Joisie reacted in time. Otherwise, he wouldn't have suffered even more damage. Audiobook also stared blankly at the old secretary. Did he win without doing anything again? On the side, Wang Ling covered his face as he listened to everything. He never thought that the old secretary would actually be able to smooth over such a strange matter. Because Jinka's 100% hairy legs on his shoulders, setting automatically attracted the man with the most exuberant leg hair on the scene. What if *** King losing control of his spiritual power? What if *** King reacting in time? The 4-day student exchange meet finally came to an end with an unexpected outcome. There was a saying that went, no discord, no concord. And Tang Jingze felt that this saying was quite appropriate. Although there had been some unpleasantness in these days, overall, it was still an unforgettable memory. This was something Wang Ling had never experienced since he was a child. He wasn't used to living in groups, and had even found all sorts of excuses not to participate in the spring excursions in primary school and middle school. But by a freak combination of factors, he had ended up at number 59 high school to participate in the 4-day exchange meet. Although there had been a lot of trouble, Wang Ling was at least gratified that it had been under control and hadn't gone beyond his control. At number 59 high school's gate, the group from number 60 high school quietly waited for the bus to take them home. It was already Friday, and it was time for school to end. For safety reasons, the school had arranged for the bus driver to plan the route, so that each student could be safely taken home. Wang Ling had always felt that these forms of transportation were a pain in the ass, because whether he ran or crawled, he was much faster than they could be. Tang Jingze and his group pondered for a long time, and in the end still felt that they should come out to see Lotus Sun off. Although they had lost the competition, as candidates for a key city high school, they still had to show their demeanor. At the school gate, Tang Jingze, as the representative of number 59 high school, held out his hand to Lotus Sunday. But he had only stretched out his hand halfway when Heartfelt stopped him. Men and women shouldn't touch. If you want to shake hands with classmate Lotus Sun, you need a handshake voucher. 30,000 yuan each, fair trade. Tang Jingze drew back his claws. So expensive? If it's just to say goodbye, shaking hands with me is the same. I'm the political science representative. I'm here to represent the wishes of the people of both schools. Heartfelt said. On the side, the corners of their mouths twitched fiercely. This fatty's ability to bullshit was getting better and better recently. Wang Ling had always felt that Master of Dopey's biggest attribute was his loose lips, which was even higher than his love of gossip. Tang Jingze had just wanted to say goodbye at first, but seeing Heartfelt's attitude, he was instantly a little unhappy, so he stepped forward and gripped Heartfelt's hand firmly. Taking a deep breath, he said, "Our school's spirit gathering array has been repaired. You're welcome to come again." Master of Dopey, We won. Tang Jingza. Our spirit gathering array has been strengthened this time. It's 5 times more effective than before. Master of Dopey. We won. Tang Jingza. Our school is going to expand the school building. Install an elevator. Master of Dopey. We won. Tang Jingza. Can you not talk about the result of today's competition? It's very bad for the relationship between our 2 schools. Master of Dopey. Your director Xie is in love, and the person he's in love with is our history teacher. Tang Jingza. Master of Dopey. Your delinquent senior has turned over a new leaf. He must have been corrected by our number 60 high school's upright and plain-spoken learning atmosphere. Tang Jingza. Let's change the subject. Master of Dopey. Teacher Zhua, the Deputy Director General of the Alliance of 100 Schools on the rostrum today, graduated from our number 60 high school. Chapter 73. The school had calculated the route for the return trip and used a one-stop bus service that passed by each student's house. Wang Ling's house was the furthest away, and he was also the last to get home. The school had specially paid the bus driver for overtime to ensure that each student got home safely. Despite the long journey, the old driver didn't complain at all after receiving the money. It was just that when he dropped Wang Ling off at his house, the driver couldn't help sighing for Wang Ling when he saw the Wang family's small villa by the road, which looked like a deserted village nightclub. This child was really pitiful. Nowadays, housing prices in the city weren't expensive, but he couldn't even afford a house in the school district in the city, and was actually living in this deserted suburb. Wouldn't it take a lot of time to get to and from school every day? The driver calculated in his heart that even if he took the fastest spirit bus, it would still take him 2 hours to get to number 60 high school. That would be 4 hours for a round trip. If this child had to work so hard to get to school, he definitely didn't get enough sleep. No wonder he had a poker face. Wang Ling was indeed a little tired. The main reason was the long bus ride. Otherwise he would have gotten home long ago. Sighing a little tiredly, Wang Ling stretched and was about to get off the bus. When he reached the front door, the driver uncle called out to him. Classmate. Wang Ling turned his head with a blank expression on his face. The driver uncle fumbled in his trouser pocket and took out his wallet. He then took out 500 yuan bills and stuffed them into Wang Ling's hand. Classmate, I'm also a part-time worker. But looking at your living conditions, it really isn't easy. I don't have much money, but it's a small token of my appreciation. You must accept it. Standing on the side of the road, Wang Ling watched the old driver drive the bus off into the distance, 500 yuan clutched in his hand, and his face a mess in the wind. When Wang Ling got home, it was dark in the front hall, and there was only a faint light in the living room, from which the faint sound of a television could be heard. As soon as Wang Ling heard it, he knew that it was Mother Wang's favorite TV series, The Legend of Zhenhuan. This was the sequel to the famous Princess Pearl. It was an inspirational story about a young girl named Zhenhuan, who used her own hard work, sweat, wit and courage to stand out from the other athletes, and finally walked onto the World Cultivation Olympic Games. Mother Wang had already seen the plot on TV, and now the late-night time slot was all reruns. Mother Wang stayed in the living room, waiting for her baby son to come back. However, in the end, he still couldn't resist the sleepiness. At the end of the day, Mother Wang was just an ordinary person. Although she had some foundation in body tempering, in the end, she was just a muscular middle-aged woman. They couldn't be compared to cultivators. Mother Wang leaned against the sofa, the corners of her mouth slightly raised, probably having a good dream. She was covered with a small blanket, which Father Wang had probably covered her up after seeing her. Wang Ling looked at the time. It was almost 2 in the morning. Wang Ling raised his hand, and a spirit light appeared, directly teleporting Mother Wang to the bed in the bedroom. Then, Wang Ling quietly went to the second floor. After being separated from his little bedroom for 4 days, Wang Ling suddenly felt a sense of longing. Father and Mother Wang's master bedroom was on the 3rd floor, and Wang Ling had already taken her up. In addition to Wang Ling's own bedroom, there was also Father Wang's study on the second floor. At this hour, the light in the study was still on, and Father Wang was cultivating in the study. Wang Ling instantly knew that Father Wang was most likely stuck in writing again. For a professional web novelist, inspiration was the life of a web novelist. Father Wang wasn't highly educated, but online novels weren't written in the same way as traditional literature. Reading more novels and accumulating practical experience over a long period of time would eventually lead to progress. Father Wang had been in this line of work for more than 10 years, and his writing was definitely passable. At his current level, he was no longer at the stage where he would type tens of thousands of words every day as a newbie. Father Wang thought hard every day about how to conceive plots and write more interesting plots. Wang Ling had never experienced what it felt like to get stuck in writing, but he could roughly imagine that it was like having a pissing meatball hidden in a nesting doll stuck in the rectum. Writers had different ways of finding inspiration. Among them, smoking and drinking were the most common ways of finding inspiration. But Father Wang looked for inspiration in a very special way. Every time he got stuck, he would click on a certain live streaming platform and try to communicate spiritually with the female live streamers on it in order to draw inspiration for his writing. Father Wang's full name was Wang Jiao. In order to get closer to these female live streamers, apart from spending a portion of his royalties on gifts and tips, he even gave himself a very coquettish ID called Wang Jiaomei. Of course, Mother Wang didn't know any of this, because if she did, it was very likely that Father Wang wouldn't be able to see the sun rise at dawn. In order to prevent Wang Ling from telling anyone, Father Wang had even unilaterally increased Wang Ling's allowance, which could be said to be very thoughtful. Perhaps it was because he had been on the run for 4 days and too many things had happened, so it was rare for him to have some quiet time late at night. For some reason, Wang Ling was also in the mood that night. Lying restlessly in bed, he wanted to see what on earth Father Wang was talking about. Wang Ling felt that he had definitely been infected by Hirogua, who had never been so gossipy in the past. Sitting up straight, Wang Ling looked in the direction of the study, his pupils blossoming like a kaleidoscope. Very quickly, the wall in front of him became transparent, and his gaze pierced straight through it to focus on Father Wang's computer screen. Wang Ling looked at the title of the live stream room which Father Wang had entered, which read, "Your Moon, My Heart." Next to the title was the female live streamer's ID, Little Xian. Wang Ling was surprised to find that he had actually heard this name before. This was a female live streamer who had recently become rather popular online. With her pure and pretty little face, sweet voice and witty answers, she was widely loved by the audience because she answered all kinds of emotional questions for the vast number of lonely people late at night. Wang Ling looked at this female live streamer's fan ranking. Father Wang's fan points were actually in the top 10, and this female live streamer's guardian angel, 200,000 fan points a month. This month, he had at least gifted this female live streamer 20,000. If Wang Ling took a remote screenshot of this ranking and sent it to Mother Wang now, Wang Ling felt that not even ashes would be left of Father Wang. But in the end, for the sake of family harmony, Wang Ling didn't do so. It was very obvious that Father Wang was very famous in the live stream room. As soon as he went online, the system in the chat room automatically bolded and enlarged Father Wang's ID on the channel's bulletin board in gold letters. Live streamer Little Xian's guardian. Wang Jiamei is online. The live stream room was now empty. It seemed that the female live streamer had gone to the toilet. The guardian angel of the live stream room had the privilege of speaking directly to the female live streamer. Looking at the female live streamer's empty boudoir, Father Wang raised his eyebrows, straightaway put on his headset, and cleared his throat. Then, Wang Ling heard an extremely flirtatious voice that he had never heard before. "Is Little Xian here? Is Little Xian here? Yes, 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 yes. I'm Jiamei." Chapter 74. After Father Wang's earth-shattering shouts. In the time it took to smoke a cigarette, live streamer Little Xian heard the news and hurriedly ran in. She smoothed her messy bangs, and obediently sat down in front of the computer screen. Blinking at the camera, she then waved at it with a pleasantly surprised expression. "Hi. So it's Jiaomei. Welcome, welcome." From Wang Ling's aesthetic point of view, little Xian's looks could only be considered passable, and wasn't as amazing as the online otaku rumors made her out to be. Straight-line eyebrows and an oval face were the hallmarks of an online celebrity. In terms of facial features alone, Wang Ling felt that she wasn't even as good-looking as Lotus Sun without makeup. But he had to admit that compared with those stereotypical female live streamers online, little Xian was still a girl who looked pretty pleasing to the eye. Her voice was sweet but not bewitching, and was just right. Add to that the maid's lace dress and her slender legs wrapped in black stockings. Maybe this was why little Xian was so popular with the public. Wang Ling cupped his chin in his hand as he pondered this. On the other side, Father Wang had already crushed his cigarette butt and was looking at little Xian with a resentful expression. It was obvious that little Xian had already understood his expression. "It looks like our Jiaomei has run out of inspiration again. The old book is almost finished, and there's no inspiration for the new one. In one word, I'm worried." Father Wang rubbed his furrowed eyebrows. There has to be a seamless transition between the end of the old book and the release of the new work. Otherwise, our whole family will have to eat dirt from now on, and it's very likely that we won't even be able to afford tableware. Just buying that prodigal toy will cost us a lot of money every month. As soon as Father Wang finished crying about being poor, little Xian's other fans in the live stream room started to jeer one after another. "Jiaomei is a guru. Still crying about being poor. We white-collar workers who work every day don't want to live our lives anymore. Well, I'm a newbie. Can anyone tell me what this Jiaomei Big Shot's pen name is? What works has she written? What the hell? You don't even know Jiaomei. Jiaomei's pen name is Wang Situ. Holy shit. It's actually Guru Wang Situ." The live stream room instantly exploded, because Wang Situ's pen name was simply too resounding. Back then, he was a newcomer to the online novel industry. In the end, it took him less than 2 months from the time his novel was published to reaching 300,000 words on the shelves. He used his new work, Let Go of That Wet Nurse, to slay the gods. After the novel was published, the number of subscriptions for the first chapter exceeded 200,000, setting a new record for the number of subscriptions on the website. It even beat all the veteran authors who had been writing on the website for a long time. It could be said that Wang Situ's strong entry at that time was like a black horse that had suddenly broken through the ground under the pressure of the Five Fingers Mountain, catching many old gods who had posted books at the same time off guard. Zhu Ge, a godly author who had been serialized in the cultivation read for nearly 20 years, had left in a fit of anger precisely because of Wang Situ's edition. Although Father Wang rarely talked about his writing at home, Wang Ling had heard about the legends of Father Wang's all-powerful online fame. Over the years, Father Wang had accumulated a lot of fame online and was quite well known. But the name Wang Situ was still a mysterious existence to the S of the Cultivation Reading magazine. Given Father Wang's achievements as a godly author, who had won the annual Work Award many times, the website would send him invitations to the annual conference every year. But Father Wang hadn't gone even once. He had refused all online and offline announcements and activities, and devoted himself wholeheartedly to writing. Seeing that someone had exposed Wang Jiamei's identity, the bullet messages in Little Xian's live stream room continued to explode, and even the number of viewers had increased from 300,000 to 500,000. This showed how famous Father Wang was online. "I never thought that Boss Jiamei would be Guru Wang Situ. By the way, is Let Go of That Wet Nurse finished yet?" "Not yet, but it's almost finished. Isn't our Guru Wang Situ worrying about his new book? It's finally finished." Someone sent a crying emoji. I remember when I was chasing Guru Wang Situ's book back then. I was still in Qi Condensation Primary School. I'm almost graduating from university now. Seeing this bullet message, Father Wang sent a sweating emoji. It's been serialized for a whole 13 years. This book should be able to top the word count list, right? Not yet. There's a book called Reborn, the life of a bewitching genius that's still being serialized. It's said that a big shot in the cultivation world, who was chasing this book, came out, after 100 years of seclusion, to find that it was still being serialized. He was so scared that he almost prematurely transcended his tribulation, and was almost struck to death by lightning. Please don't finish it, Guru Wang Situ. Work hard to surpass this #1 book on the word count list. Seeing this bullet message, Father Wang couldn't help laughing. Even if it continued to be serialized, it would be impossible for him to surpass that life of a bewitching genius in terms of word count. After all, it seemed that this book had been serialized ever since the website had been set up. Let Go of That Wet Nurse told the story of a protagonist who was reborn into the body of a frail crown prince of the Qing palace, and who relied on collecting and training wet nurses to farm and develop his career. Later, the protagonist used a wet nurse Rong steel needle to open up his conception and governor vessels, and with a palm technique that descended from the sky, he defeated the #1 killer in the world, evil god Fire Cloud, and became a peerless expert. Back then, this had just been an inspiration that Father Wang had while sitting on the toilet and reading newspapers in his spare time. He hadn't expected it to be widely loved by readers when it was turned into a serialized novel. But after being serialized for so many years, Father Wang felt that he had already told his story what he needed to say, and it would be too immoral of him to continue. Since it was a novel, he should draw a full stop to the characters he had created. But when he thought of this, Father Wang still felt a little sad. After all, this was a book he had written for more than 10 years, and also his first work. It was inevitable that he would feel empty and lonely if he suddenly ended it and started a new chapter. Thus, Father Wang had sought out little Xian. For one thing, he felt that a girl full of vitality like this could make up for the regrets in his heart. For another, young girls often had a big imagination, and Father Wang felt that little Xian might be able to bring him some inspiration. Less than half an hour after Father Wang went online, little Xian looked at the number of people in the live stream room. After Father Wang's identity had been exposed, the number had actually soared to 600,000. Father Wang alone had helped her pull in 300,000 new viewers. To a streamer, this was much more valuable than any gift or reward. Thus, little Xian simply and straightforwardly changed the title of the room to, "Everyone, let's help Guru Wang Sita think of a new theme." After making the changes, the girl in front of the screen was lost in thought, and it was clear that she was racking her brains. Little Xian had always been calm and unruffled when it came to answering emotional questions, and the audience had never seen her so distressed before. The live stream room soon exploded again. Distressed little Xian. She's still so beautiful. Little Xian's new expression pack get. Looking at the lively bullet messages, Father Wang unconsciously took another cigarette out of his pack. Now there were 600,000 people helping him think of a theme. Even if he didn't use it, he could at least find a few bright ideas tonight. Pa! The moment Father Wang pressed down on his lighter, little Xian's eyes suddenly lit up in front of the screen. I don't know how to write a novel, but I think we can give this theme a try. Jiaomei, what do you think about live streaming? Live streaming. Chapter 75. Online live streaming has been a hot topic recently. Some experts have criticized those internet celebrities who rely on their looks and exposure to stimulate the fan economy. However, they can't wait to stand in front of the screen and rely on academics to easily earn $1 million a month. However, not everyone could do a live broadcast. It was a world where one's appearance mattered the most. In recent years, there were countless people who had died from blind dates. In order to gain a certain level of popularity on an online platform, even if one didn't have the face of an internet celebrity, one had to at least look presentable. Even if you had a blood-red body, butterfly blue hair, and the looks of the Tang family's third young master. If you sang, "Ah, 5 Rings," on the screen, you might still become popular. At the very least, it looked more festive this way. Little Xian had given Father Wang a lot of inspiration. Live streaming could be considered a universal topic, and it was very immersive and interesting. But how to develop this theme? and make it more interesting was what Father Wang had to think about next. After hearing Little Xian's opinion, Father Wang hurriedly thanked everyone in the live stream room, and then went offline. When the netizens saw that Wang Jiamei's profile picture had turned gray, they instantly knew that this all-powerful big shot in the online novel world was about to make a move again. This time, just what kind of reign of terror would there be? Father Wang was a very efficient person, and this efficiency was reflected in every aspect. For example, in the time it took for the water to boil, Father Wang could do 3 things on the toilet: eat, read the newspaper, and switch between hundreds of alternate accounts to argue with the trolls in his book review and comment section. That night, Father Wang stayed up late to draw up a basic framework and outline for his new book. Even the first chapter of the new book had been completed. Title: The Live Streaming Life of the Immortal King. Introduction. This is the story of a big shot in the cultivation world, who is unable to suppress the primordial force in the main body. He broadcasts the daily life of an immortal cultivator in the human world. Wang Ling kept looking at Father Wang's computer screen, and somehow had an ominous premonition. Given Father Wang's current level of writing, he could already write fluently at the beginning of a chapter. He had already checked for typos several times. Then, Father Wang clicked his mouse and directly emailed the document to his chief. Father Wang's chief was surnamed Song Zikai, and his code name was Lai Shou. The circle had given this chief the nickname Lai Mengmeng. When Wang Ling had visited his house before, he had used his eye technique to check this person's business card. This was the only Father Wang had come into contact with offline in the 10-odd years since his debut in the online literature industry. This was a very good-looking and thin young man. He looked a little weak, and he had neatly trimmed bangs that gave people a clean feeling. With the computer on, Father Wang made a cup of tea and waited quietly for a while. Very quickly he heard a ding-dong sound, and Chief Song's reply came. This gold medal in the industry, and a promoter of premium novels, only took an average of 30 seconds to review a manuscript. Wang Ling found this particularly miraculous. Wang Ling skimmed through the contents of the reply. It said that the theme was very bright, and there was nothing wrong with the writing. But considering Father Wang's appalling performance in his first book, and his current status on the website, Lai Mingming planned to have Father Wang write a few more chapters, to fill up 20,000 words, before posting it on a trial website to test the waters. Wang Ling had heard of this website before. It was an independent VIP website specially set up by the Cultivation Reading Network for veteran readers, who had been registered on the website for more than 100 years, and had high spending power. On this website, readers could be the first to read Novel Guru's new works to test the waters, and they could leave comments and give their thoughts and suggestions to the authors. Looking at this reply, Father Wang was silent for a while, but in the end, he nodded and accepted it. After all, it had taken him more than 10 years to gradually perfect and successfully create his godhead under the pen name Wang Situ. Given that he didn't know how popular his second book would be in the market, Father Wang really didn't dare rashly publish it. Otherwise his godhead would shatter if the results weren't up to standard. He would definitely become a laughingstock in the industry, right? Wang Ling was speechless. A person who could rely solely on a pen name to attract 300,000 viewers on a live streaming platform that had nothing to do with online novels at all. How the F***K were those website flops supposed to survive? In the morning, Mother Wang had prepared breakfast, deep-fried dough sticks, soy milk and her specialty, rejuvenation noodles. Mother Wang untied her apron and shouted upstairs, "You two, come down for dinner." Looking at the table full of food, Wang Ling was almost moved to tears. After being ravaged by Mother Wan's dark cuisine in those few days at number 59 high school, it was probably only Mother Wang's cooking that could heal his wounded heart. While they ate, Father Wang pushed up his black-rimmed glasses and stared at Wang Ling carefully for a while before sighing. "TSK, you seem to have put on weight in the last 2 days." Wang Ling touched his face, and indeed felt that there was a little more fat on his cheeks. This was probably the result of Mother Wan's cooking fermenting in his stomach. But it didn't matter. Losing weight was never difficult for Wang Ling. Wang Ling rubbed his cheeks hard with both hands, and the fat on his face was instantly rubbed off like plasticine. How the F***K was this possible? This was the first time Father Wang and Mother Wang had seen Wang Ling's ability. Father Wang ate a mouthful of rejuvenation noodles. How has group life been these 2 days? Wang Ling was blank, but in the end he shook his head. I heard that a lot of things happened when I sent you the talisman seal? Wang Ling nodded. Father Wang sighed. Actually, I think you're just too nervous. Maybe if you act more naturally, nothing will happen. You should interact more with people your own age, understand? Wang Ling continued to nod. All right. What's the point of saying this when we're eating? Mother Wang interrupted Father Wang. But Ling, remember to review your homework a little in the next 2 days. You can't do too well, but at least don't be at the bottom. You still have to learn what you need to learn. I've asked around about the classes you've missed these 2 days, and I specially went to your school to pick up the revision materials. You just need to take a few minutes to go through them later. Okay, Wang Ling finally said, the first word he had said since returning home. The truth was that Wang Ling didn't need to review Dao talismans or spells at all, but he still had to find time to memorize history, politics, and so on. Even top students like Feather Lin and Lotus Sun in the elite class would have to spend at least a whole day to digest a week's worth of lessons. In contrast, it was much more convenient for Wang Ling. Using the speed reading memorization spell, Mom no longer had to worry about my studies. But before the start of the wonderful weekend, Wang Ling didn't want anyone to disturb him while he was studying, especially when he was using the speed memorization spell. If he was disturbed during this period, there was a high chance that his memory would go haywire. So to avoid such a situation, he opened his pencil case. Chapter 76. Wang Ling sat in front of his desk, which was covered with a large pile of exercise books. Although he had gone to participate in the 4-day Spirit Sword Exchange meet on behalf of the school, Teacher Pan's principle of handing in homework hadn't changed. What had to be handed in still had to be handed in, no matter how much homework had been missed. The intelligence of these 2 gremlins, pen and eraser, was linked to Wang Ling's. Wang Ling could order them to automatically complete homework for him, but the prerequisite was that he had already grasped the knowledge for the homework. After missing 4 whole days of class, what Wang Ling needed to do now was to make up for the knowledge he had missed. As for the work on the tip of the pen, it would be left to the 2 gremlins, pen and eraser. It took Wang Ling 2 minutes to compile a list of this week's learning content for easy sorting out. He found that there were actually quite a lot of missing knowledge, especially cultivation physics and advanced cultivation mathematics. In just 1 weekend, these 2 teachers had actually assigned 5 test papers each. To use one word to describe it, it was infuriating. To use another word to describe it, it would be insanity. This was probably the first reaction and attitude of most students when they saw this pile of homework. On the contrary, Wang Ling was a very studious person. Ever since he was a child, he had taught himself everything he knew about cultivation, including the 3,000 great Daos. It was like the facial features and hair of a baby at birth, which had been deeply imprinted in his mind from the moment he was born. But language and culture learning were the result of Wang Ling's hard work. And Wang Ling himself very much enjoyed this process of hard work. Learning was the only thing that could make him happy. At his desk, Wang Ling opened his textbook, put on the earplugs, and turned on self-study mode. Previously, he had heard people complain about how this earplugs could cut off the endless telepathic communication brought on by the mind-reading ability. The reason was very simple. It was because this earplugs contained the same material used to make the talisman seal, which Wang Ming had personally invented. It was a peaceful and tranquil weekend, because Wang Ling's eyelid warning hadn't sounded any alarms in advance. Around noon, a gray commercial Chuanjianguo RV was parked not far from the Wang family's small villa. Miss, we've arrived. This is the place. In the limousine, a well-dressed old butler turned his head and said to a girl. The girl crossed her slender legs and looked to be about 12 years old. She was not tall, wearing a pair of cropped jeans, a loose hip-hop top, and an overall hat. The two little wings on the side of the hat stole the show. This was a little Lolita with a delicate face and the appearance of a child star. Fortunately, there were not many people around the Wang family's small villa. Otherwise, the young girl would definitely be recognized. Of course, in the past, the young lady enjoyed being recognized in front of others. But now that she was in a place where no one passed by for half a day, the young lady no longer expected anyone to recognize her. Sighing slightly, the girl looked through the window at the Wang family's small villa not far away. The man that my sister has taken a liking to is in that villa? Yes, it has been thoroughly investigated, miss. Eh? Could it be that you investigated wrongly? How could my future brother-in-law be a poor wretch living in such a desolate suburb? There's no mistaking it, miss. This is the address I got from eldest Mrs. Personal Driver, Lu Zhao. The old butler answered in full detail. But I have to remind you that it's a little too early to call him brother-in-law. Although we now advocate free love, eldest Miss's marriage is very complicated. When eldest Miss was born— Fine, don't tell me this. You're so annoying. The young lady rolled her eyes. Isn't it just the yin and yang death tribulation? I've known about it for a long time. I also know that the fortune teller left behind a message telling you the way to break this yin and yang death tribulation. The old butler broke out in a cold sweat. Miss, be careful. That's an exalted immortal from Immortal Castle. The young lady shrugged helplessly. This is the scientific cultivation era. I don't know where you get all these feudal superstitions from. I don't think this old faker's solution is reliable at all. When the yin and yang are in chaos, I'll dye the blue sky with my membrane blood. It sounds like complete nonsense, okay? The old butler shook his head with a wry smile. It's better to believe it than not. Besides, this was what the exalted immortal from Immortal Castle said. Eldest Miss must find this extraordinary person who can dye the blue sky with his membrane blood in order to break the death curse. The young lady couldn't be bothered to continue arguing with this inflexible old butler. She straightened her clothes and got ready to get out of the car. She looked at him. Have you prepared the gifts? Although it was their first meeting, she still had to prepare some gifts, so that she wouldn't lose the demeanor of Huagua Water Curtain Group. This was what the family had taught Sun Yu since she was a child. The old butler placed a Cosmos storage bag into Sun Yu's hands. Young miss, there are 2 longevity immortal peaches in this storage bag. After eating them, they can prolong your life and moisten your intestines and loosen your bowels. After eating them, they can nourish your skin and loosen your bowels and loosen your bowels. After eating them, they can dispel internal toxins and loosen your bowels and loosen your bowels. After eating them, they can nourish your stomach and loosen your bowels and loosen your bowels. In addition— Enough. Sun Yu didn't wait for the chatterbox to finish. She snatched the storage bag frantically and hurried out of the car. The young lady stood at the entrance of the Wang family's small villa, completely unaware that a serious man was studying on the second floor. After pacing back and forth in front of the villa for a while, Sun Yu mobilized all her brain cells to think of an opening speech. It was the weekend. The person who would open the door might not necessarily be the male classmate that her sister had taken a fancy to, but most likely his parents. Then when she opened the door, should she say her real name or her stage name? Her stage name was Xue Tao, and Sun Yu thought that her name was quite well known. But there was no guarantee that her reputation would spread to such a remote area. It would be very awkward if someone didn't know her stage name. Just as Sun Yu mustered up her courage and was about to knock on the door, figures suddenly flashed in front of her, and 2 burly men, each 10 feet tall, jumped down from the roof beam. Holy shit! Who are you? Sun Yu was stupefied. Miss, I'm very sorry. Chapter 77. Sun Yu's gaze was fixed on the 2 burly men in front of her. Although she hadn't reached the foundation establishment stage, she had already learned how to use her spiritual sense. When she had been pacing back and forth in front of the Wang family's villa, She hadn't sensed the aura of these two burly men at all. This was enough to prove that, on paper, their strength was much higher than hers. Moreover, the two big baldies standing in front of her gave her a very strong sense of oppression. But judging from their appearances, these two bald men were very simple and honest. Sun Yu didn't even bother to ask if they recognized her, because she felt that they definitely weren't normal people. One was dressed like Iron Man, and the other was wearing a straw hat and a red vest. If they were her fans, their tastes wouldn't be so strange. "Brothers, I just came to deliver something. I'll leave right away." "What is it?" "It's not constipation pills, is it?" The two burly bald men were like security guards, staring at the storage bag in her hand. The bald man dressed like Iron Man said, "Earlier, someone tried to rush us for more. They sent blades, missiles, and an APTX 4869 capsule to the villa, almost causing a disaster. So young lady, please cooperate with us. You can't go in. If something is delivered here, we can check it first before deciding whether to keep it." What the hell was this? Why the hell was there a missile? What was in this villa that attracted so much hatred? Sun Yu pointed helplessly at the storage bag. "Do you know Huagua Water Curtain Group? This storage bag is filled with tonics developed by our company, moisturizing youth-retaining pills, black-yellow detoxification pills, 8 Immortals health pills." Hearing this, the two burly men suddenly understood. Oh, they really are here to deliver constipation pills. F***CK. Sun Yu took a deep breath. What do I have to do to get in? Only after his lordship has finished his studies. Sun Yu gritted her little canine teeth. Then what if I insist on breaking in? Then we can only try our best to stop you from breaking in without hurting you. Young lady, I think we should come back another day to visit. When the old butler saw that Sun Yu was stopped by two burly men, he quickly stepped forward to mediate. But Sun Yu was, after all, Sun Yu. He had been pampered since he was young, and had the burden of being an idol. Did two mere servants think they could shut him out? How preposterous. "TSK, what's there to be afraid of? Aren't you here?" Sun Yu curled her lips in disdain. The old butler was speechless. Although the old butler was also a golden core expert, he was still intimidated by the aura of the two bald men. His instincts told him that these two people were not to be trifled with. With one look, he knew that these two people were not ordinary people. The aura on his body was very strange, not like the aura of a human. "I'd like to see how you're going to stop me." The cute girl wearing Aurelia's hat tried to raise her voice to boost her presence and make herself more intimidating. However, this slightly childish voice seemed a little ridiculous compared to the high-pitched scream. The faintly discernible aura fluctuations made the two bald men, pen and eraser, smile faintly, completely disregarding her. "You dare look down on me?" The girl was furious. She took out a small blue pill from a small satchel at her waist and swallowed it. The old butler jumped in fright. "Young lady, you can't." But as soon as he finished speaking, the girl had already swallowed the pill with a gulp. This blue pill was called a beast-shaped pill. It was refined by refining the genes of spirit beasts. After swallowing it, one would enter a beast state for a period of time, preserving their intelligence and greatly improving their physical attributes and functions. However, there were often side effects. After swallowing the beast-shaped pill, the physical strength stimulated by swallowing it was in advance. After the effects of the pill wore off, one would fall into a weak state for the next 10 days. The old butler sighed slightly. He knew that Sun Yu was really angry this time. The beast-shaped pill the girl had swallowed contained the genes of a six-winged thunder leopard. The moment she swallowed it, the effects of the pill took effect. Faint leopard patterns quickly appeared on the girl's fair and flawless skin. Even her ears had turned into round leopard ears. In a short period of time, the girl's strength had already risen to the foundation establishment stage, and the six-winged thunder leopard's lightning attribute was an even greater killing weapon. Added to the girl's transformed pair of claws, even an Aurus core stage cultivator would feel a numbing pain if they were scratched. "Oomph!" With a cold snort, the girl, who had already completed her beast state, spread open her 5 fingers. Her originally neatly trimmed and round nails suddenly turned into sharp leopard claws. With a single step, she easily climbed up the outer wall of the Wang family's small villa. It seems that the pill just now contained the genes of a six-winged thunder leopard. It strengthened the strength of the four limbs and greatly improved agility and speed. The thunder leopard's thunder attribute is also very troublesome. However, the two strong men worked together and instantly turned into a blur, directly disappearing. Damn it! Before the young girl could react, the two brawny men had already appeared above her. One of the brawny men wearing a straw hat was tightly grabbing onto the young girl's four limbs. Sun Yu was shocked to find that the six-winged thunder leopard's lightning power had no effect on this man. In the end, the girl hadn't even climbed up to the window sill on the second floor when she was pulled down from the wall by the two strong men. "Give up," the bald man dressed like Iron Man said to the girl. "According to my observation, the maximum speed at which you can jump vertically is only v1 equals 16 meters per second. So as long as I easily jump up with an initial speed of v2 equals 18 meters per second, I can be higher than you and attack you at the same speed as I fall. But because the Lord loves peace, we didn't really make a move this time. We only used the method of stopping you. We said before that we wouldn't hurt you. So please don't continue to force your way in. Remember to go back and read more books and learn more. Your lack of knowledge is probably the reason why you lost." "Oh, that's right, miss. By the way, this eraser guy next to me wearing a straw hat is a rubber man. So after you transform into your beast form, he has an insulating effect on the thunder power. Miss, please go back and quickly return to your beast form. The longer you stay in this state, the longer the subsequent period of weakness." The eraser guy on the side nodded. "As for those constipation pills, it's fine if you want to keep them. We will definitely pass on the message to the Lord. Thank you for your kindness, Sun Yu." Chapter 78. In the end, Sun Yu was forcibly dragged away by the old steward. The stewards of Huaguo Water Curtain Group weren't ordinary people, and old steward Lin San was no different. Steward Lin had watched his family's second miss grow up. Back then, when the cultivation world had been unhindered, Huaguo Water Curtain Group hadn't achieved the world-renowned achievements it did today. Lin San was a veteran in the group and had seen a lot of the world. Even if this old steward wasn't very strong, he had the experience he had gained over the years to stay in Huaguo Water Curtain Group. "Uncle Lin, let go of me. Let me fight it out with these two brothers." These were the last words the girl had said to the two brawny bald men before Lin San had unleashed her killer move, young girl's cute fist. Lin San sighed in his heart. In the end, his family's second miss was still too young and didn't understand the ways of the world. Given old steward Lin's many years of experience, there was probably an extraordinary person living in this small villa on the outskirts. On the side of the road, two bald men in aprons respectfully watched as Lin San drove away in this gray commercial Chuanjiangguo limousine until it disappeared at the end of the road. "Did we go too far? Our master likes to keep a low profile. What if they investigate our master?" Before Eraser Man could finish speaking, he was interrupted. "Have you forgotten our master's great shielding spell?" "I see." Realization dawned on Eraser Man. "There's nothing for us to do now. Our master is almost done with his revision. We can go over now and help him with his homework." It took Wang Ling a full half an hour to fill in a week's worth of knowledge on his own, and he also previewed the content for the next 2 months. Wang Ling enjoyed the learning process very much, but he hated the fact that he hadn't studied for long enough, because mastering these points wasn't difficult for him at all. In contrast, after mastering all the knowledge, he also had to grasp the learning style of the whole class, find his own position, and then do his best to get an average grade. Thus, implementing the moderate education policy that Father and Mother Wang had instilled in him since he was a child. This was the most difficult part. At his desk, Wang Ling put his head in his hands and let out a long sigh of relief. The rest of the writing work was left to the two gremlins, the pin monster and the eraser. While Wang Ling was reviewing his homework, Father Wang wasn't idle. After hanging up with Lai Mengmeng on the phone earlier, he hurriedly continued writing the opening chapter of the novel. Father Wang was a swift and decisive person, especially when he was bursting with inspiration. The rhythm of his 10 fingers on the keyboard was so fast that he looked like a living tentacle monster. Just as Father Wang was writing to his heart's content like a fountain, his wristwatch suddenly rang. Father Wang frowned slightly. He hated being interrupted like this. But when he looked at the caller ID on his wristwatch and saw that it was Lai Mengmeng, he hurriedly adjusted his mood before picking up the call. "Hey, Big Hand, what's the matter? I'm writing." Other authors like to call Lai Shou Lai Mengmeng, but Father Wang had his own nickname and preferred to call him Big Hand Lai Mengmeng. Wang Ling lay on his back in bed and took off his earplugs. The sounds around him poured into his ears, and without opening his eyes, he happened to hear Father Wang and Lai Mengmeng's conversation. Their voices flowed clearly into Wang Ling's mind. "Brother Situ, your book is going to be popular." Lai Mengmeng's excited voice came from the other end of the line. "I just uploaded your first chapter to the VIP website, and guess what happened? Less than 2 hours. The number of hits has already broken 300,000. The first chapter has an 87% positive rating." Lai Mengmeng roared a little uncontrollably. Outsiders might not have any idea what this figure was, but it had to be said that the total number of old readers who had registered for 100-year-old accounts on the Cultivation Reading Network's independent VIP website was only 700,000. Furthermore, it had already stopped registering accounts several years ago. A website with a total of 700,000 registered users that could only be accessed by VIP readers had actually already read Father Wang's new novel. Furthermore, the overall positive rating was higher than normal, which directly shocked the entire EEL department. Father Wang was naturally happy to hear this news, but given his personality, he would never make it too obvious. What's the point of having a lot of hits? Selling well is the way to go. "Brother Situ, don't be modest. Tell me the truth. Did you transmigrate from the future?" Lai Mengmeng's question was very mysterious. Father Wang was blank when he heard this. "Huh. First it was that let go of that wet nurse. And now your book The Live Streaming Life of the Immortal King is probably going to be popular again. Who knows, it might even break the website record. The few novels I've read before are all plagiarists who transmigrate from the future to the past. Don't tell me it's the same for you." Lai Mengmeng said in amazement. "Big Hand, if you make this kind of joke again, I'll stop writing." Don't. It's just a joke." Zhu Ge had already left. If Wang Sita left as well, the website wouldn't be able to bear the loss. On the other end of the line, Lai Mengmeng smiled mysteriously. "I have another piece of good news for you." Listening to Song on the other end of the line, Father Wang's expression gradually turned strange. "What? A fan tipped me? And directly recognized my alternate account in the review and comment section of the trial site. You and I just decided to start a new book this morning, as well as to test the waters by posting it on the VIP website. No one else knows, not even my old readers. That's strange. We went to the website to investigate this ID. We discovered that the account of this 100-year-old VIP reader hadn't been logged in for a very long time. But at 2 or 3 o'clock this morning, he suddenly logged into the VIP trial site and changed his ID. We suspect that this account was either passed down from his ancestors or that he bought it through some other channel." Father Wang frowned. At 2 or 3 o'clock this morning, he remembered that at that time, he had been gathering the wisdom of the masses in Little Xian's live stream room to choose a theme. Then, could this person be one of the audience members in the live stream room? Father Wang was a little confused. Even his old readers didn't know that he had finished the first draft of the first chapter and posted it on the trial site. How could it have been leaked in advance? Damn. Nowadays, even online novelists had saying fans. On the other side, Lai Mengmeng calmed his thoughts and said, "Brother Situ, do you know how much this reader tipped you today? A whole 100 million cultivation reading coins." "So much." Actually, Father Wang hadn't met such a generous reader for a very long time, while he was writing Let Go of That Wet Nurse. 100 million cultivation reading coins was 1 million HNY. After splitting it with the website, that was an income of 500,000 HNY. Hearing that someone had tipped him so much all at once, Father Wang instantly felt a little emotional. What's this reader's ID? It's called Super High School Level Deputy Director, Lai Mingming replied. Hearing this ID, Father Wang's face instantly darkened, and he cast a deep gaze toward Wang Ling's room. I have a rough guess, I'll call you back later. After saying that, Father Wang hung up the phone on his wristwatch. Wang Ling, come here. Chapter 79. In the staff apartment, Audiobook stared blankly at the open box on his desk. At that moment, Audiobook felt that he could completely empathize with the feelings of those bribers, because he was feeling the same way. The box on the table was made of Kuan wood, which had strong dusting and waterproofing capabilities, and was also earthquake-resistant. The heirloom of the Zhuo family. He was several hundred years older than Audiobook, and it had been passed down from generation to generation, until it was now in Audiobook's hands. There were 5 items in the family heirloom: a title deed to Jing City, a bank card with a large amount of money in it, a USB drive, a hard disk, and a phone card. The title deed of Jing City was the Zhuo family's ancestral land. According to the rules of the organization, the title deed could not be sold no matter what. This was originally Audiobook's legal property, but in order to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings, and even more so to avoid some scheming people framing him, Audiobook's property had originally been his legal property in the last 2 years. Audiobook hadn't gone back in the last 2 years, and obediently lived in the staff apartment. Audiobook didn't even dare write his own name on the black sports car, which had been passed down from his ancestors. The ancestors of the Zhuo family were rather miraculous. They were clearly people of average talent, but in a certain generation, they suddenly became rich. Audiobook could no longer find any historical records of the Zhuo family's sudden wealth in the ancestral records. He only heard that one day, his great-great-great-great-grandfather had dreamt that he had traveled to Mars and seen 9 dragons pulling a coffin. In a daze, he had remembered the serial numbers on the coffin, so he had woken up to buy a lottery ticket. In the end, he had won an unprecedented huge prize. Now, after generations of squandering, although there wasn't much left for Audiobook, it was enough for him to live an ordinary life without worrying about food or clothing. To be honest, the first 2 things were completely within Audiobook's understanding. But when Audiobook received the latter 2 items, he was stunned for 3 days and 3 nights. First, the suspicious USB flash drive. When Audiobook opened the USB drive, he found that there was only one TXT file inside. In the document, there were tens of thousands of permanent VIP accounts and passwords, including the VIP reader accounts of the Cultivation Reading Network. Among the dazzling array of accounts, the 5-digit QQ account that had been uploaded by the Zhuo family's ancestors was the most valuable. As for the hard drive, the ancestor of the Zhuo family had put a laser label on this hard drive that had a full YB of RAM. Learn a foreign language. Inside the hard disk, there were seeds from ancient and modern times, from all over the world, and from different cultures and cultures. Only this SIM card was the last thing that Audiobook felt was most practical. On the other end of the phone card was the guardian of the treasure chest arranged by the Zhuo family's great ancestor. Apart from supervising the Zhuo family's ancestral teachings, the guardian was also obligated to help the heir of the treasure chest 3 times to the best of his ability to resolve crises. The guardian envoy didn't have a name. In the past, the inheritors of the treasure chest liked to call the guardian envoy ambassador. Hearing it too much would make people feel awkward. So when it came to Audiobook's father's generation, he simply gave the guardian a creative nickname, Magical Little Black. After that, Audiobook simply called the guardian Uncle Black. In order to investigate Wang Ling's true identity as a Shota 6 years ago, Audiobook had mobilized Uncle Black's power. This time, in order to apologize, Audiobook had mobilized Uncle Black's power, once again to investigate Wang Ling's family background. After learning that Father Wang was actually the internet guru Wang Situ, it was as if Audiobook had discovered a new continent, and he was amazed to find a way to get close to Wang Ling and save the country. During the Spirit Sword performance yesterday, Audiobook felt that he had completely disgraced his little Sherfu. Moreover, Audiobook knew very well that there was no way Wang Ling would accept a blatant bribe. Over the last few years, this young man with miraculous powers had been trying his best to avoid Audiobook. So, after careful consideration, Audiobook felt that the most roundabout and tactful way to directly have Uncle Black use his account to reward Father Wang was to directly do so. So this 100 million cultivation reading coins was just an apology fee. Given his esteemed master's strength, how could a mere 100 million cultivation reading coins be enough for an apprenticeship? Furthermore, with Uncle Black's reward, Audiobook didn't have to worry at all about the government's anti-corruption inspection team tracking him down. After all, 1 million wasn't a small amount. Staring at the treasure chest in front of him, Audiobook grinned from ear to ear, feeling that he was really 2F*** king quick-witted. While his imagination was running wild, the phone on his wristwatch rang, and he immediately knew that it had to be Uncle Black. According to past practice, this was a call back after the request had been completed. If the target mission didn't meet expectations, Uncle Black would definitely take action again until the mission was completed. "Hello, Uncle Black?" On the other end of the line, the man sighed, his voice low and magnetic. Are you doing well? Uncle Black, you're really too powerful. You could even investigate this." Audiobook exclaimed repeatedly, but somehow felt that Uncle Black's voice sounded even more hurried and nervous than usual. Uncle Black was silent for a bit, then said, "You should know why your ancestors left you this phone card. It can't be used like this. It was so that you could have some leeway if your life was in danger. And you actually squandered 2 chances to investigate the same person's identity." Speaking up to this point, Audiobook could clearly sense that Uncle Black's tone wasn't quite right, and he didn't know if he was angry. Audiobook knew that when Uncle Black had investigated Wang Ling back then, he had encountered extremely strong resistance. Specifically, he would completely forget the contents of the investigation in the blink of an eye. For a time, this kind of situation had made Uncle Black think that he was suffering from amnesia. Later, Audiobook had been forced to develop the habit of taking notes and recording the contents of his investigations. No matter what your relationship with this person is, I hope you can keep your distance from him. It's best if you don't get any closer. Otherwise, I have a feeling that my third mission is very likely to be to collect your corpse, understand? Uncle Black's voice trembled a little as he spoke. Audiobook couldn't help raising his eyebrows. "Uncle Black, you're being too serious. Sherfu is really powerful. Even Uncle Black is scared. As expected, he's no ordinary person. It's not serious at all." Uncle Black enunciated each word to show the seriousness of the problem. No one in the Zhou family has ever stepped onto the political path. In this game of power, when the storm comes, it's far more dangerous than you can imagine. "Okay, Uncle Black, I understand. But, a new storm has already appeared. How can we stand still? I hope you'll consider my words carefully. From now on, I won't investigate any information about this family for you." After saying that, Uncle Black paused and directly ended the call. At that moment, in a mysterious laboratory on the border of Huaxiu Nation, a mysterious man in black tights hung up the phone with trembling hands. Chapter 80. Actually, Wang Ling was well aware that someone was secretly investigating him. Otherwise, given Audiobook's little tricks, there was no way they would still be able to track him down after that incident 6 years ago. But if he wanted to find out who exactly was investigating him, he would have to quietly wait for the other party to give himself away. Since the last time Audiobook had come to number 60 high school to block him, Wang Ling had already been on guard. He had a feeling that the person hiding behind Audiobook was going to show up again. Wang Ling very rarely asked Wang Ming for help, but this time, he edited the situation into a text message and sent it to Wang Ming. In less than 5 minutes, Wang Ming had sent him a string of numbers. These were the login coordinates of that book friend on the Cultivation U, with the ID Super High School Level Deputy Director 1. Although the mysterious monkey coder behind Audiobook was also a first-class computer expert, and habitually changed the coordinates and hid the account's location when he logged in, it was a pity that his opponent this time was Huaxiao Nation's most powerful brain. After that, Wang Ling directly used the Great Teleportation spell to instantly teleport to a mysterious underground laboratory on the border of Huaxiao Nation, based on the coordinates provided by Wang Ming. And then, there was this scene in front of him. In the huge laboratory, Wang Ling suddenly appeared with both hands raised high in the air, and a huge ball of light with a primordial chi bullet was already waiting to be fired. The man in black tights was scared out of his wits and didn't even dare turn his head. Trembling, he followed Wang Ling's first instruction after arriving here, and taught Audiobook a lesson. Who knew whether that guy had listened or not? What the F***? The man had always thought that the person he was investigating was just an ordinary student. Who knew that he was actually a steel cannon who could carry a nuclear bomb with him? If this bomb was thrown here, forget this laboratory, even the border would be F***. King flattened. With his back to Wang Ling, the man raised both hands. Exalted Immortal, I've already told you everything you wanted to say. This time, Father Wang had given Wang Ling a death order. He had to wipe his own ass clean, otherwise he would never be able to eat his favorite crispy noodle snacks at home again. Wang Ling nodded silently and put away the primordial chi bullet. He was pretty pissed off at Father Wang's scolding earlier. Feeling the light and wind pressure behind him decrease sharply, the man finally heaved a long sigh of relief. At least the results of his decades of painstaking research had been preserved. But without Wang Ling's order, the man didn't dare turn around at all. He gave the man a second instruction, which was to erase all the investigation records related to him. The man didn't even dare to breathe as he began to operate on the screen. 2 minutes later, the words "deletion successful" appeared on the screen, which was as wide as a satellite launch site. The man raised his hands again. Don't worry, Exalted Immortal. I've deleted all your records. I didn't leave any copies. Wang Ling was silent for a while. In the end, he still didn't believe the man's words. He took a step, and a powerful spirit wave spread out with him as the center. Instantly, there was a series of bang 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 explosions nearby. Now he was a lot more at ease. At the very least, he could confirm that he had destroyed all the chips here that could be used to store data. The man held his head and shivered on the ground. Wang Ling looked around and realized that Little Black, the monkey programmer, actually had a lot of strange inventions. Among them, the most eye-catching one had to be a large steel cannon with a diameter of 1 meter. It stood erect like a chimney in the middle of the lab, and on either side of it hung 2 steel balls that looked like monkeys blocking thunder. Wang Ling pointed at the cannon and asked Little Black telepathically, "What is this?" Little Black held his head and didn't dare look at Wang Ling at all. He said timidly, "This is the Armstrong Cyclone Jet Armstrong Cannon." What the F*** was this name? The more Wang Ling looked at it, the more he felt that this cannon looked suspicious. And so, he raised his hand. After a flash of dazzling light, there was a deafening boom. The cannon was directly blown to smithereens. Billowing waves of air directly activated the lab's built-in firefighting system, and the sprinklers sprayed everywhere in a thick mist. When Little Black raised his head, he found that Wang Ling had already disappeared. In the destroyed lab, Little Black sat weakly on the ground. He was drenched from head to toe, and his black tights were wrapped around him like a swimsuit. Trembling, he took out a cigarette and silently lit it. Everything was destroyed. Little Black held his head in pain. His painstaking invention, the result of decades of research, and that Armstrong Cyclone Jet Armstrong cannon, had actually been destroyed in an instant. The most important thing was that when he faced Wang Ling, Little Black felt that not only was he unable to stop it, He couldn't even resist it. Given his realm, he wasn't at the top of the world, but he felt that he could at least shake the world. But when he faced Wang Ling, he felt a suffocating force. That earth-shattering pressure gripped his throat, making him feel like he had almost died. It had been a long time since Little Black had felt this real sense of oppression from the gap in realms. This person is really terrifyingly strong. Little Black shuddered as he smoked. Who on earth was the person he had been investigating all these years? After a cigarette, Little Black calmed his thoughts. He wanted to call someone to report the situation, but found that even his wristwatch had been damaged. There were no usable electronic products in the lab now. This wasn't just a moving human nuclear bomb. He was also a F***king moving EMP. Now that he couldn't make phone calls, and the equipment was broken, Little Black could only write a report by hand, and then look for an opportunity to report the damage to the lab. May 16th, Sunny. The laboratory had suffered unprecedented damage. According to the current statistics, the laboratory had lost 3 satellite computers, 1 Armstrong Cyclone jet Armstrong cannon, and 10 communication devices. All the data had been destroyed. The initial estimate was that the probability of recovery was minuscule, probably less than 0.1%. At the same time, the experimental subjects that had transmigrated to other worlds with the black technology developed in the lab might no longer be under control. Hopefully, this matter would attract the attention of the organization. Also, regarding the identity of the person who had destroyed the lab. At this point in the report, Little Black's pen paused. Holy shit, wait. This teenager with terrifying strength. What the F***K was his name again? Chapter 81. The rural-urban fringe of Songhai City to the border of Huaxiao Nation was at least hundreds of millions of kilometers away, and Wang Ling rarely used the great teleportation spell to travel such a long distance. But looking at the result, at least, his beloved crispy noodle snacks had been saved. Wang Ling returned to his desk and stared thoughtfully at the sun outside his bedroom skylight. Previously, he had been intentionally or unintentionally avoiding that Uncle Black's line of sight. As long as he didn't let Uncle Black see his face, Wang Ling could guarantee that the great shielding spell would continue to work. Fortunately, that coward hadn't dared to look at him at all, and had almost wet his pants under the pressure of this absolute power. Now Wang Ling could guarantee that that mysterious Uncle Black basically wouldn't dare cause trouble for him again. But Audiobooks was still a big problem. Wang Ling sighed. He really had to think carefully about how to solve this problem. Otherwise it would become a big problem sooner or later. But after some recent events, Wang Ling had also gained some inspiration. It was time to prepare a mask for himself. Because the great shielding spell could only be successfully activated if he could ensure that those who had designs on him didn't see his face. Otherwise, even if he used the great transfiguration spell to change his appearance, it would be useless. And wearing a mask was a pretty good way to protect himself. It wasn't that Wang Ling hadn't considered it before, but that he hadn't been willing to buy one. Because his pocket money was limited, Father Wang was like a dictatorial shopkeeper who only gave him a pitiful amount of pocket money every month. Furthermore, he would do everything in his power to embezzle it. 100 for breaking a spoon, 50 for breaking a chopstick. There were 15 students in the elite class that Wang Ling was in. If Wang Ling's exam results were in the top 8 of the class, 500 would be directly deducted, based on the number of bowls, chopsticks, and spoons that Wang Ling had accidentally broken every month, as well as the furniture that he had smashed when he wasn't careful. Father Wang would often use all sorts of excuses to take away his pocket money, before he could even keep it warm. Even the money he used to buy crispy noodle snacks had been saved up by Wang Ling. But it had only been 3 months since he had put on the new Dao Talisman seal, and its powerful power had also strengthened Wang Ling's restraints. For the time being, Father Wang wouldn't be able to find an excuse to embezzle Wang Ling's pocket money. Thus, these 3 months should be when Wang Ling's pocket money was the most. Wang Ling's idea was that he could just buy a random mask and wear it as long as it covered his face. But there were so many different kinds of masks online that it was hard for someone like Wang Ling, who had difficulty choosing. Although he had bought it casually, he didn't dare use a mask of poor quality. Otherwise, if he tried to catch his breath while wearing it, the mask might crack. After struggling for a long while, Wang Ling finally looked for his own mask based on the tags that other online buyers had left on the website. Wang Ling chose good and cheap, and most popular, options. And in a split second, the number of items in the Cultivation online shopping mall plummeted. Next, Wang Ling needed to use his 24K pure gold titanium laser eyes to pick out his own mask from this vast array of masks. There were pictures of the masks on the Cultivation online shopping mall, and Wang Ling could use his heavenly eye to examine the materials used to make them. Ding dong! Just as his gaze swept over the masks in the shop, a private chat window suddenly popped up. Wang Ling opened it, and at the top of the window was the nickname, New Century Cultivation Mask Shop. It was very obvious that this shop had installed some kind of software that could automatically solicit customers through a private chat window when they browsed online. It was like a certain private hospital that had spent money on a bidding ranking online. As soon as they entered the website, they would start to send private chat windows, and then boast about how brilliant their medical skills were. In the end, they had spent money to treat a patient to death. Wang Ling was very disgusted with this kind of behavior. Just as he was about to close the window, the customer service staff quickly sent him a smiley face with a rose in its mouth and a string of text messages. "Fellow cultivator, please stay." Almost out of reflex, Wang Ling typed out a string of ellipses. Seeing Wang Ling's reply, the customer service staff was very enthusiastic and immediately replied, "I saw that fellow cultivator was looking for a mask. I can guarantee that the masks we sell are definitely the cheapest on the internet, and the quality is guaranteed. What kind of mask would this fellow cultivator like? We have everything you could ever want here." This text is typed and not an automatic reply. Please don't doubt our enthusiasm. Wang Ling was a little speechless. Before he could reply, the customer service staff sent another message. "I know that fellow cultivator is still conflicted. So let me give you a brief introduction of some of the masks that have been selling very well recently." Very quickly, the customer service staff sent him the first picture. It was a strange green mask with well-defined features. It didn't look ugly, and it also seemed to have a fluorescent effect. Wang Ling asked, "What is this? I wonder if fellow cultivator feels ashamed to face your lover's womanizing all over the place? How on earth do you find your first love? How on earth do you redeem your spouse's love? Our company's latest green forgiving mask will help you restore your confidence and redeem your love from the root." Wang Ling. If fellow cultivator isn't satisfied, we still have the next one. After saying that, the customer service staff sent him another picture of the mask. This mask was silver all over, and the rest of it was very ordinary, except for the unusually sharp chin. I wonder if fellow cultivator is still afraid of walking alone at night? I wonder if fellow cultivator often works overtime until dawn? This Lu Baobao brand snake spirit male mask is made with the latest hyaluronic acid synthesis technology. Not only is it hydrating and beautifying, the mask's chin is also inlaid with black diamond alloy, which can be used as a weapon at a critical moment. For a long time, Wang Ling didn't reply. The customer service staff sent Wang Ling a question mark. "Fellow cultivator? Do you have any reliable ones that are only used to cover your face?" This time, it was finally the customer service staff's turn to send ellipses. Nowadays, most masks have been developed by combining cultivation and scientific power, and were mostly functional masks. There were actually only a few in the entire cultivation online shopping market that didn't have any other functions, and was only used to cover one's face. Of course, it wasn't that there weren't any, but most of the non-functional masks had great ornamental value, so they were often sold at a high price. But Wang Ling's requirement was that they be of good quality and cheap. Obviously, this caused a lot of trouble for the customer service staff. About 10 minutes later, the customer service staff finally sent him another picture of the mask. It was a ghost mask that looked a little rough, and the eyes seemed to have been decorated with resin or something. It looked a little old, but overall it looked pretty good. Fellow cultivator, cheap face-blocking masks. To be honest, they're very hard to find, especially in the cultivation online shopping market. Our family doesn't have many in stock, and according to fellow cultivators' request, we found this good quality, cheap, and not too ugly mask. Wang Ling stared at the picture the customer service staff had sent him, and felt that this mask basically met his requirements. The most important thing was that Wang Ling had used his heavenly eye to see the material of the stone ghost mask, although he hadn't actually touched the real thing, and wasn't too sure based on the picture alone. Wang Ling did indeed see primordial black crystal in the stone ghost mask. Chapter 82. So, had he hit the jackpot? In many cases, primordial black crystal fell from the sky along with meteors, and had a very special texture. It was very difficult for ordinary quality inspection methods to detect this substance. Furthermore, it was very easy for many material merchants to confuse primordial black crystal with ordinary black crystal. Take this stone ghost mask for example. Wang Ling had seen the quality inspection report from the customer service representative, which clearly stated that this stone ghost mask had been made from 75% high-grade black crystal and 25% elastic resin. But even though it was an ordinary mask with no function at all, and the merchant had no idea that it contained primordial black crystal, it still cost 600 HNY. Wang Ling knew that 600 HNY for a stone ghost mask made from primordial black crystal wasn't actually a loss. But considering his monthly allowance of 1,000 HNY, it was still a little expensive in the end. Seeing that Wang Ling was still hesitating, the customer service representative sent him a vibrating window. Fellow cultivator, are you still there? Wang Ling replied with a question mark. Question mark. If you think the price isn't right, you can discuss it with us. We can definitely sell it at a lower price. Of course I won't tell you that this mask will bring you bad luck. Wang Ling. Oh, I dialed the wrong number, sorry. What I wanted to say is that it will bring you good luck. Who the F***K are you trying to fool? Can your acting be any more exaggerated? In the end, Wang Ling threatened the customer service representative with a bad service review, and the customer service representative finally told the truth. Back then, we bought this stone ghost mask from a mask wholesaler. Our boss liked it very much because of its unique design, but ever since it was put on display in our shop's sales have plummeted. Our boss thinks that the shop's business has definitely been cursed by this stone ghost mask. Wang Ling stared at the stone ghost mask for a while. Apart from its unique design, he really didn't notice anything else wrong with it. But he would have to wait until he got his hands on it to know whether there was a problem or not. Actually, Wang Ling was a person who liked to have fun at heart. After all, being invincible was so lonely. Seeing that there was no news from Wang Ling, the customer service representative became anxious again. Fellow Taoist, the price is negotiable, name your price. Although Wang Ling was dubious about the curse of the stone ghost mask, he felt that it most likely wasn't false when he saw how anxious the customer service agent was to sell the mask. At the very least, he was sure that after the seller had bought the mask from the wholesaler, it had indeed caused a lot of trouble. After careful consideration, he sent a number to the customer service representative. The customer service girl was shocked to see a lone 5 in the chat window. Fellow Taoist, are you sure you didn't miss a zero? If it was 50 yuan, the customer service could understand. After all, it was a cursed mask. It was one thing to sell it cheaply, but what the hell? $5. You think you're F***king buying crispy noodle snacks. The customer service girl waited in front of the chat window for a full 5 minutes. Realizing that this stubborn and stingy customer still had no intention of changing his mind, she suddenly felt a little disheartened. Of course, Wang Ling didn't leave, and just sat there calmly with his arms crossed as he waited for the customer service girl's reply. He had learned this trick from Mother Wong, who had often used it to catch the hawkers off guard when she went shopping or bought groceries. At times like this, it was a competition of patience and mental endurance. After nearly 10 minutes of confrontation, on the other side, the customer service girl finally gave in. Fine. $5 it is. May I trouble fellow Taoist to confirm the delivery address? In the end, to the customer service representative's surprise, Wang Ling fell silent again. The customer service girl sent Wang Ling a bawling emoji. Fellow Taoist, you're not going back on your word, are you? After a moment of silence, Wang Ling typed 4 words in the chat window. Remember to include shipping. Include shipping. Not only did it cost $5, it also included shipping. The customer service girl felt like her worldview had been refreshed. What kind of customer was this? Although the customer was God, this was the first time this customer service girl had seen such a stingy God. F***K. What a scam. The customer service girl thought indignantly in her heart. It was close to 5 o'clock in the evening on Saturday in the 3rd week of school. Wang Ling felt that he had done a lot today. He had made up for his missing knowledge, completed the homework he had missed, and in passing, destroyed an underground laboratory that had been plotting against him. After buying the mask online just now, Wang Ling felt that he had finally put one more thing off his mind. Now he just had to wait for that strange stone ghost mask to arrive with shipping from Shunfeng. Days like this were indeed very fulfilling, but they always made Wang Ling feel very tired. On the other side, Father Wang and Lai Mingming were still in a small meeting, pitting their wits against each other, as they worked out some details of the plot for their new book. On the other side, Mother Wang had also come to the 2nd floor, and knocked on Wang Ling's door. Son, get ready. Change into some handsome clothes. We're going out to a restaurant tonight. Wang Ling. Going out to a restaurant? As far as Wang Ling knew, the Wang family rarely had the habit of going out to a restaurant. It was mostly because of Wang Ling. Father and Mother Wang were very worried that taking Wang Ling out to a restaurant would cause trouble for the restaurant. So the number of times the Wang family went out to eat all year round was comparable to the number of spring and autumn school outings. Generally, it was only on New Year's, or Wang Ling's birthday, that Father and Mother Wang would spend a lot of money to take Wang Ling out for a good meal. Usually, when they suddenly wanted to go out to a restaurant, Wang Ling knew that it was most likely some relative who had come. As it turned out, Wang Ling's hunch was right. About half an hour later, Wang Ling sensed with his spiritual senses that an old man was pedaling a tricycle toward the entrance of the Wang family's small villa, which had previously been deserted. The old man was a little chubby, and seemed to be struggling to ride the tricycle. He wore an old-fashioned black hat on his head, a black cotton jacket, and a dark blue cotton robe. When he got off the tricycle, he was a little unsteady, and Wang Ling was afraid that he would fall if he wasn't careful. The old man was half squatting with his hands on his knees. Panting, he thumped his shoulders and loosened his muscles. Then he slowly went to the back of the tricycle, untied the rope, and finally lifted the white cloth covering it. The tricycle was actually loaded full of apples. Mother Wang had been putting away clothes at the entrance of the villa, but when she saw the chubby figure appear at the door, she hurriedly went up to him. "Oh my dad, why did you come here on a tricycle? You should have called me. I'll have Wang Jiao pick you up." Grandfather Wang rubbed his head. "Wang Jiao? Who's Wang Jiao?" "Wang Jiao is your son." Mother Wang sighed in her heart. The old man's dementia came out of nowhere, and it was really getting harder and harder to guard against him. "Oh, right. My son." Grandfather Wang patted his head and pointed to the apples behind him. "Don't I have a grandson called Jinka? Well, I brought this cart of oranges for my grandson. Remember to put them away." Mother Wang. Chapter 83. As soon as old man Wang entered the villa, he went to look for the toilet. He had ridden his little tricycle all the way here, and was really suffocating. The old man was close to 70 years old, but he was still in good health. Apart from his worsening dementia, all his other bodily functions were normal after a formal physical examination at the cultivation hospital. But although they had severe dementia, Father and Mother Wang definitely weren't worried that the old man would lose them, because Wang Ling had blessed the old man's little tricycle with the ability to automatically lead the way. And most importantly, it didn't take the old man any effort to ride it. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for the old man to ride all the way here from the suburbs of a neighboring city. Hearing that the old man was here, Father Wang hurriedly finished what he was doing. In the Wang family, apart from Mother Wang and Wang Ling in a rage, the old man was the only person who could inspire awe in Father Wang. Wang Ling remembered that when his grandmother had still been alive, Father Wang had actually been more afraid of her. Unfortunately, she had passed away before Wang Ling was born. It was said that she had a terminal illness. At that time, Father Wang had been heartbroken for a long time. Until Wang Ling was born, Father Wang had constantly fantasized that if Wang Ling had been born a few years earlier, perhaps she wouldn't have died. Unfortunately, there were no ifs in life, and every day was a live broadcast. Old man Wang's dementia had also been diagnosed when Wang Ling's grandmother had passed away. When he was young, Old man Wang had been a dissolute person who owed a lot of romantic debts. Among them, his first wife had been the one he loved the most. So Wang Ling's grandmother's passing had been a huge blow to the old man. In the living room, Father Wang lit a cigarette. "Have you made a reservation for tonight's restaurant?" Mother Wang nodded. "We've already made a reservation at Kakata Floor. It was originally going to be at MasterChef's little store, but the owner has been busy recently, and I heard that the price of egg fried rice has gone up again. It used to be 288 yuan, but now it's actually 988 yuan. This is daylight robbery." Wang Ling knew that there was a place called MasterChef's Little Store that had been very popular recently. With just a bowl of egg fried rice, this little-known little store had attracted countless heavyweight customers, and food experts from all over the world were scrambling to promote it. Wang Ling felt that this kind of boss was very suspicious. He was either an old senior in the cultivation world, or a big shot who had traveled through time. If he wasn't, then it was very likely that he carried some kind of system with him, and received the power of the system. The subject of portable systems wasn't new, and Wang Ling knew that Wang Ming had been working on it for the last few years. Currently, he had already invented a number of portable systems, and was conducting secret experiments in various locations. Forget it, Kakaro is not bad either. Father Wang glanced at the small tricycle parked in the back garden. "Why are there so many apples?" "Dad brought it." He remembered that Ling Ling liked oranges when he was little, but unfortunately he brought the wrong one. Father Wang covered his face and sighed in his heart. Dad's dementia is really getting worse. And it seemed that his constipation was a little serious. He went into the toilet for a long time and didn't come out. Wang Ling felt very helpless about this. Given his current ability, he could easily wipe out the cancer cells in his body, but he couldn't cure a neurological disease like Alzheimer's. Moreover, old man Wang's dementia was very complicated. It was completely caused by his mental illness. If it was a problem with his body's functions, Wang Ling could directly treat it. When it came to orthopedics, in particular, Wang Ling's treatment methods were superb, and after several years of development, he had already completely surpassed German orthopedics. Not long after, there was the sound of a toilet flushing, and the old man came out unhurriedly. When he came to the living room, the old man grasped Wang Ling's hand and looked at him strangely. "Jiao, it's only been a few months since I last saw you. How come you've become so much younger? Did you secretly eat a youth-retaining pill again? There's a preservative in that thing." "Father Wang, Dad, I'm your son." Old man Wang was dazed for a moment, then patted his head. "Oh, right. You're my son. Then this kid is Jinka? Where's our Ling Ling?" Old man Wang was a very mischievous person. When Wang Ling had come in earlier, his dementia had indeed flared up. But now, Wang Ling could tell at a glance that the old man was faking it. This trick could fool Father Wang and Mother Wang, But it couldn't fool Wang Ling, seeing the look in Wang Ling's eyes. Father and Mother Wang immediately understood. Dad, you're already so old, but you still like to joke. Seeing that his trick had been seen through, the old man chuckled. In the end, our Ling Ling is still the best. By the way, what are we going to do tonight? Dad, we're going to a restaurant. We've already made reservations. We've been waiting for you. No, what restaurant? It's expensive. Do we have food at home? Old man Wang asked. Yes, that's good enough. The old man took off his black cloth cap to reveal his big bald head and rolled up his sleeves. None of you move tonight. Let me show you what I can do. Dad, I think you shouldn't waste your energy. What if your dementia flares up again while you're cooking? What does dementia have to do with me cooking? Even if I forget all of you, I won't forget how to cook, the old man said angrily. When it came to cooking, Old Man Wang was unusually stubborn. That was because before he retired, he had been a chef in a star-rated cultivation hotel for more than 40 years. Even if the old man cooked 3 meals a day for 365 days, as long as he had enough ingredients, there wouldn't be any repetition of the dishes. The old man was an extraordinary person. Back when he had been all-powerful in the culinary world, he had taken in many disciples, big and small. He had followed the theory of happy cooking, which had been taught to him by his shifu. As for who the shifu was, even Wang Ling didn't know, because the old man was suffering from dementia. His memories of the past were a lot messed up, and even a memory search might not be able to find any useful clues. On the other hand, a forced search might worsen the old man's dementia. After all, the target was his own grandfather. Even if Wang Ling was very curious, he wasn't that nosy. None of you move today. I'm old and my brain isn't working well, but my body is still strong. My good grandson has participated in 4 days of activities. Look how thin he's become. The old man stared at Wang Ling and smiled, then skillfully took off the apron that Mother Wang had hung behind the kitchen door and tied it around his waist. Dad, do you need help? Find me the oil, salt, sauces and whatnot, and help me see what we have in the house. There's spinach and carrots in the fridge, and some pork. I saw bananas on the living room table. We can make a fruit platter later. Back then, my angry bananas were the best. The old man opened the fridge and his eyes lit up. Pig ears? Not bad, braised pig ears and sauce. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.